was a struggle for them. You could tell that they haven't had that type of practice in the wind yet, and it really showed.
Ian, I know you were studying deeply the film of the Radicals Mechanix game last weekend. A 27-10 win as Madison handed Detroit their 77th consecutive loss. Now, the Mechanix had a lead in the first quarter tonight at Pittsburgh, so we'll see what happens. But Tim DeBile has led this Radicals program since the beginning. He's steady, and he's trying to build them back up to the championship level that they were at 6 years ago.
And I think he's as bullish as he's been in several years about where this program is. Talking to him in the lead up this week, he talked about how, hey, I don't want to use the term rebuilding, but last year with injuries and transition, maybe this program didn't perform where it wanted to, and it couldn't find the cohesion that it wanted to. But now with a guy like Brian Hart more fully available and healthy in the lineup and having injury problems figured out, with Kai Marcus back from injury, with other younger second-year players stepping up into bigger roles, he feels like this group is in a position to kind of reassert itself atop the Central Division.
Quinn Snyder back in the lineup tonight for Minnesota. They missed him last week, but he's an important goal scorer. As we look at the history of this series, Madison 19-12 all time. Of course, their first win for Minnesota was back in 2014. But in recent years, the rivalry has kind of shifted. Minnesota has taken some of the prestige in recent seasons, and that's something the Radicals are trying to change tonight.
Absolutely. This rivalry used to feel like a big brother, little brother type situation, but little brother has certainly grown up in the last couple of years, and Minnesota, I think in a lot of ways has modeled what Madison did throughout the years with their success and tried to implement that not only within their culture but also their game plans, and it showed. I mean, last year they were one really kind of miracle play away from being in the UFA championship game.
Madison had won 46 straight games against divisional opponents here at Breese until Minnesota got the best of them in 2019. And that first game after the pandemic, the crazy hand block near the buzzer. Madison got a win here 2 years ago. But look, the Windchill went 3-0 against the Radicals last year, winning twice here. Minnesota obviously coming off a trip to championship weekend where they had a lead in the semifinals with the time ticking away, but we know what happened with Joel Clutton. Magic tip to the end zone, and even in overtime, a couple missed opportunities for the Windchill. Ben Feldman said something interesting to me leading up to the season. He said, it's hard to try to sell your team that we're trying to win a championship when you never even have been to the Final Four previously. Now that they've gotten to the Final Four, what's the next step for the Chill?
I think this is a group that needs to understand how to play with a target on its back. And it needs to know how to do that when it has all kinds of different personnel available. You need that, I hate to sound too trite, but next man up mentality. And you need to have that trust and buy-in up and down the entire roster to say, I don't care who's active this week. We know what our identity is. We know what role we're stepping into, and we're going to be able to fill the shoes for the next guy.
Colin, after their loss last week, do you still look at Minnesota as the favorite this year to win the Central, or did that loss at home change your perspective?
I think going into this game tonight, they are still the favorite, but the outcome of this game will make a big difference in that outset. And for me, if Madison's able to pull off this win, all of a sudden that really shifts the narrative in the Central Division.
All righty, let's show you what happened last week. Minnesota at home against Pittsburgh. It was a sloppy game. And
I think our colleague Adam Ruffner called it a rock fight, if we're being generous.
Yeah, I think there were 53 total turnovers in 48 minutes, so you can do the math. And look, the Windchill just did not come to play, and Pittsburgh came with great energy. And it was certainly perhaps a turning point for the Thunderbirds, but Minnesota is a team with different ambitions than Pittsburgh coming into the season.
Well, from my perspective, if you're going to have that championship DNA, these are the types of games that you have to pull out, right? Going back to my time on the Radicals, we would get ourselves into these tough situations and find a way to claw it out. Wins are wins, even if they're ugly. And so I like to see what this Minnesota Windchill team's going to look like on a bounce back, because that will really tell me what their championship pedigree is and really what kind of trajectory they have for the rest of the season.
Bevon closing in on 200 career goals. He's had a tremendous career, and we've seen him play O, we've seen him play D. Minnesota has a bunch of guys like that can bounce back and forth. In fact, Ben Feldman whispered in my ear, Tristan Vandy Mortel going to play D tonight, trying to add to their conversion percentage, perhaps defensively. That with Josh Klain back in the lineup, they feel like they have the ability to make that swap.
I mean, if you've got that luxury of getting a handler of Klain's caliber in your back pocket, I don't see why you don't make that move. Another thing that's really great to me about Brian Vinoka's season so far is he has yet to throw a turnover. I feel like that's always been one of the small criticisms you have about his game, is his ability to value the disc. And you look at his stats, the only turnover that's associated with him is a drop on someone that he was trying to connect with. So if he can keep that up, or at least keep clipping along at that pace, that's going to set a great example for the rest of the offense. And given the volume of touches, it's just going to mean good things for the rest of the team.
Colin, what's Andrew Mechanix like as a teammate?
Great teammate. I mean, obviously he is soft-spoken, but he really lets his game do the talking, and he is probably the best player in this entire league at finding that play that will spark a big run. You see the 191 career blocks for him. He finds ways to do more with less athleticism than anybody else I've ever seen in my life, and that fires up your team. It really does, and he sparks the big runs for the Radicals.
Doesn't sound like a compliment, but I think you mean it as a compliment.
It is, yes.
I mean, look at those numbers. He's third all-time in the league in blocks. He's third all-time in games played, and he's closing in on 3,000 career points played. An original member of the Radicals. We're about to wrap up the PowerUp pregame show, and you guys got to do a little taste test for me real quick.
Okay, all right.
We got the apple cinnamon. Hold this for me. This is the pre-power. This is good stuff, and I can't open it.
Do we need to tap somebody else in?
Yeah,
Do we need to bring in the relief pitcher?
They secure this.
Okay.
It stays fresh.
It does.
All right.
Colin, show me. He's going to just rip it open. This is going to be great. They're about to do the anthem here. We're going to try some trail mix. We're going to take a quick timeout, and then when we come back, the opening pull. As we get you set for UFA Super Series, we got it open. How about that? Beautiful night, we hope, at Breese Stevens Field. Wind chill, Radicals, coming up.
Was there any doubt? This is going to be the game. Joel Clutton battling for position. He tips it to the end zone where it's caught by Elijah Jaime at the buzzer to tie the game. Incredible awareness from Clutton, and we've got overtime tonight. On the grand stage to keep possession. Huge bid, gets the time. Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.
With the entire Frisbee spotlight shining on the capital city of Ultimate, the undefeated Madison Radicals are focused on tonight's tough test. As the Minnesota wind chill invade Breese Stevens Field, looking to bounce back from last week's stunner against Pittsburgh. It's a Central Division showdown in the next chapter of the UFA Super Series. Minnesota at Madison, coming up next. Well, it's been a stormy Friday here in the capital city of Ultimate, but so far this evening, the skies have given us a window, and we've got UFA Super Series coming at you with the Minnesota wind chill 2-1 after their surprising home loss last Saturday against Pittsburgh, taking on the 2-0 undefeated Madison Radicals from the iconic Ultimate Haven, Breese Stevens Field, just off the square. Good evening, everybody. Evan Lepler with Ian Toner and Colin Camp. Adam Ruffner will join us from the sideline in a little bit as well. And look, this game was going to be big no matter what. The border war, Minnesota-Madison, the 32nd meeting, we know all that. After Minnesota's loss last week, it feels that much bigger.
This is a time when we're going to have to figure out what Minnesota is made of. Is this a team that can play with a target on its back? Is this a team that can respond to adversity? And at the same time, is Madison ready to step up and reassert itself in this Central Division?
And Colin, the Radicals are also trying to figure out exactly who they are. They think they're good, but the question is, how good are they? We might find that out tonight, too.
Exactly. They've been trying to find that secret sauce since winning in 2018. They haven't returned to the playoffs since then. However, Tim DeBile is more bullish on this team than he has been in recent years, with the additions of guys like Kai Marcus coming back from injury, as well as Gabe Vordick stepping up seemingly out of nowhere for that offense.
Well, we saw Brian Vanoka moments ago. He's kind of a do-everything guy for this Minnesota team. They can put him on O, they can put him on D. He makes plays either way.
Well, Brian is also having a career-best year from a completion percentage perspective. That's always been the one challenge in his game. We know he can make the athletic plays. Can he value the disc? He's doing it better than ever this season.
And on the other side, the Radicals' offense has been completely transformed by a healthy Kai Marcus. Colin, he's really a thrower unlike the Radicals have ever had.
Exactly, yeah. In an offense that's been predicated with small ball and short throws with guys like Andrew Brown, Tom Annan, Kai Marcus brings a whole new dimension to this team. He can rip it 90 yards, but then he can also swing it 30 yards across the field. He has every throw in the playbook, and he's going to be using them all tonight.
I know that both these coaching staffs love to tinker, love to strategize. There's great respect between these organizations, but there's also fierce competition. And one of the things I was contemplating as we got ready for this evening's broadcast was just, I mean, who is this a bigger game for? I know Minnesota lost last week, but Minnesota has had Madison's number. I mean, they beat them 3 times last year. They won 3 of the last 4 here at Breese, a place where nobody in this division used to come and win. So I think you could make an argument that for Madison tonight is really a turning point in their season one way or another. Can they protect their home turf against the team that won this division a year ago?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say this is their test to see if they're legitimate this year. From my perspective, the formula is always hold at home with wins and try to win half of your road games. This is a crucial win for them tonight if they want to find that path back to the playoffs, and also if they want to get home field advantage, something that has been a major benefit in them making championship weekends in the past.
And even when the weather has not cooperated most of the day, at time for the opening pull, these stands still have plenty of fans. We were having an early dinner next door. We saw a bunch of folks in Radicals gear. There's a whole vibe to this neighborhood on a Madison Radicals game day.
Well, Colin, you used to live right next door, too, so you could speak to this better than anyone else. But having been lucky enough to travel around to so many great communities around our association, Madison really is something special on game day.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Colin.
I was just going to say, absolutely. This community has gotten behind this team, and they're excited for this season opener night against a division rival.
We are underway. Super Series Free Friday Frisbee from Madison, Wisconsin. Radicals beginning on O. Anthony Gutowski gives it off to Victor Luo. One of the big changes for the Radicals this year is Marcus's emergence has allowed Luo to push downfield, and that's where they feel he's the most effective Brian Hart going deep, and it's knocked out of his hands at the very last second. Brent Bergmeyer apparently going to be credited with a clean block.
Well, Bergmeyer, the heads-up defense there. He was the help defender, wasn't initially assigned to the Hart assignment, and peeled off and able to make the play quickly in that deep space.
So a break chance for Minnesota on the first point of the night. Kristen Vandy Mortel, as we mentioned in the PowerUp pregame show, is out there on defense. There's some contact between Bergmeyer and Gutowski, and it's going Minnesota's way.
And this is a good early test for this Madison Radicals offensive line. I don't really see that they have been tested too much early on in the season, and so trying to get this first hold of the game will be crucial for them for this momentum.
Colin will see if your old college teammate Ben Feldman decides to take an early timeout. He's put a lot of trust into this defense. Dylan DeClerc with a nice sliding snag. Tanner Barkis near the sideline to Bergmeyer. Madison defensively trying to bear down. And is that a stall or a timeout? It's a stall! Minnesota stoned on the goal line. Surprised Feldman did not pull the trigger on the timeout quickly enough there to maintain possession.
Same here, but also credit to this Madison offensive unit, able to lock down in the red zone when it mattered most. We've seen red zone conversion be a challenge for other teams around the league in the opening weeks of the season. Even great offenses like New York and Salt Lake struggling to find their footing.
Veteran Radical Pat Schreiwise directing traffic, and DeClerc wants a pick. He's going to get it. And the stall count was at 5 or 6. I saw the official chopping his arms. Steve Haynes, Craig Howard, Hank Carey, Jonathan Monforti, the officials tonight. So Schreiwise going to take a timeout. Radicals recognizing the stall count was high. So it's the O-line taking a timeout in the opening point, something you don't see very often. Happy birthday, Kevin Pettit-Scantling. KPS turning 33 today. And there's Tim DeBile. He's been the coach of this franchise since the very beginning, back in 2013. Had a lot of success against Minnesota through the years, although not so much the past couple years. We'll take you through the odyssey that has been this opening point.
Well, I really like that wrinkle early on, sending Brian Hart deep. So far this season, the Madison handlers have been the key to their offense, and they've been doing a lot of small ball. It was fun to see them really stretch the field early on. I'd like to see that happen more, sending Vic deep as well, and seeing what kind of opportunities they can produce out of the handlers shooting deep.
Looks like most of the same personnel on the field for Madison.
About to say the same thing. Surprised to not see too many other spells.
Look, if you're not familiar with Kai Marcus, he was a gunslinger playing for North Carolina kind of before their real dynastic run of championships. He was a member of that school's program when they were good, but his emergence as a thrower for the UFA's Madison squad has changed the dynamic, and after the timeout, the Radicals work it to Vic Luo into the end zone, and it's 1-0 Radicals.
So Madison calls that timeout. They've got a high stall count that they got to deal with. And what do? They draw up a zipper play. The first two guys clear out off the front of the stack, making room for that third person in the stack, Victor Luo, to come under, get an easy continuation. It's not the most revolutionary play call in the world, but it worked right there.
Exactly, and that's the key part of having Kai Marcus being added into this offense. It gives Victor Luo the opportunity to go downfield, use his athleticism to get open in those high stall situations, and it's going to unlock the Madison offense this year as long as they are all able to stick together on that line and stay healthy. So this wind chill O-line has been waiting for a little bit to get a chance to play.
Josh Klain back in the lineup today. Gordon Larson making his second appearance of the season for the Wind Chill. Won a Division III College National Championship last week. Josh Klain likes to huck into double coverage. Batted up in the air and to the turf. It falls precariously hung up there, but Joe Leapforth got the block.
Well, a risky move going for an upline block on Josh Klain and not getting it because you leave him in power position with absolutely no mark. That's usually a recipe for disaster. But on that instance, Klain hanging it just a tiny bit too much. Phenomenal defense there by Madison, too.
So Minnesota worked it about 75 yards down the field, but could not punch it in. Now it's Madison's turn to work this direction, looking for the break. Almost 5 minutes off the clock already. Mitchell McCarthy shoots it. Just shy of the goal line, Luke Marks. Crossfield hammer. Bookends for Joe Leapforth. 2-0 Radicals.
And had Madison not called that timeout on the first play of the game, I think they would have called a timeout there. But boys, Coach DeBile happy that he did not. Great throw by Luke Marks, throwing the right-handed hammer despite being a lefty. Fun little twist there.
Here's a deep pull for the real hardcore Ultimate nerds. Shades of Joe White in the college semis at 2017. Just having the disc on the goal line and uncorking a crossfield hammer as a young contributor on the team. A lot of stones on that throw.
Absolutely.
Joe White, of course, hoping to stifle the championship weekend aspirations of both of these programs. We'll see about his availability with the Union throughout the rest of this season.
A high-profile signing, but if he doesn't take the field, it doesn't matter much.
Got full sales on bonds. That means Minnesota will take over from the brick mark.
So it's the Minnesota D-line playing offense here. Veteran Brandon Mattis with a lofted swing, hauled in by Dylan DeClerc. Benny Mortel keeps it moving. Christian Johnson back from Minnesota this year. He didn't play in 22 or 23, but he's one of a couple returning Minnesota players. Greg Cousins also back after a long half-decade-plus hiatus. Benny Mortel bluffs the hammer.
Mattis was moving downfield.
DeClerc is open deep, and Minnesota is on the board.
And today, Minnesota's really going to be relying on some of those veterans like Mattis and DeClerc to carry this team. Having a guy like Sam Berglund out, not having a few of your college players back yet like Ian McCoskey and Paul Krennic, huge pieces of that D-line, it's going to be critical for them to come back and serve that role. Obviously they serve an offensive role, but as you're going to see this game progress, look for those veterans to really step up on their D-line and play big points if Minnesota wants to have a chance in this game.
What a point there for Brandon Mattis. Got a couple swings off the sideline. You typically think of him as that stalwart defender, but he's fitting in well when his team needs him to play offense. He was also getting plenty of separation. You saw that one hammer bluff. I think it would have been completed if the throw had gone up. And then as he's walking off the field, he doesn't even bother to look the final throw in. He just knows that that's going to be a score no matter what. Supreme confidence there from the veteran.
High Markins throws into a very tight window, breaking through the double team. Swings it for Schreiwise. Both teams trying to settle in, find a flow offensively. High stall, shot to the back of the end zone, and it works! Gabe Vordick has been an unreal revelation to this Radicals team. 23 years old, out of Northeastern. He showed up to tryouts. Tim DeBow didn't know who he was. He has been an unbelievable impact player for the Radicals O-line. Coming off a 5-goal game last week.
And just like Anthony Gutowski was that catalyst last year for their offense, Gabe Vordick's filling that role now and really allowing Gutowski to play more of a hybrid role, which is, again, feeding into the reason why Tim DeBio is so bullish on this team. Guys like Gabe Vordick coming seemingly out of nowhere and being able to play a crucial role early on, stepping up in the biggest game of the year so far.
Madison earning road wins at Pittsburgh and Detroit, but you're absolutely right, Colin. There's a different feel to this one tonight. The reigning Central Division champs, team that swept Madison 3-0 last year. In the preseason this year, these two teams met halfway in between the Twin Cities and here in Madison for a preseason exhibition scrimmage. Minnesota won, but both coaches had good things to say about the other team. Thought the regular season games would be very competitive this year. Leo Savell Fernandez, talented youngster out of Middlebury. Gets it back from Snyder. Kelson Alexander on the mark. Michael Jordan over to Josh Klain and back to Savell Fernandez. The font on Leo's back is much smaller than everybody else's on his team. Squeeze in all those extra letters. Jordan keeps it moving for Larson. And just beyond the goal line was Josh Klain.
I mean, how devastating has that deep upline cut and then skinny, shallow turnaround, how devastating has that become, especially in pro in the last, I don't know, 5+ years? There's so much responsibility that that upline defender has. There's so much space when they're attacking the upline space, and you don't necessarily have a help defender always in the area to help on that shallow inside lane to be a little bit of a threat. So it's just such an easy option for throwers who can get that inside throw off.
Exactly, and in Minneapolis Ultimate, that's been a staple for years now. Josh Klain can do that cut in his sleep. He's probably run that cut 5,000 times in his life, or 10,000 to be a perfectionist at it, right?
He's gotten his 10,000 hours.
Cam Lacey lets rip another pull. No Sam Berglund tonight from Minnesota, but when Berglund's not in the lineup, Lacey is also an excellent puller and an impact defender for this Minnesota team. Luo begins the point downfield, now comes under and by himself in the backfield. Gutowski, somehow squeezes it through. You can really feel the Minnesota defensive energy from here in the booth. They're playing hard. They're very close to a couple blocks already on this point. Floater brought down by Jack Nelson. No one really open, so he just flings it to nobody.
That's a coverage sack, folks.
And this is the type of defense that Minnesota played last year that allowed them to get to championship weekend, this high-octane, high-energy defense. And then on the turn, they run you into the ground. Let's see if that's what they present right now.
This could be a Callahan, and it will be! Anthony Gutowski Callahan!
And boy, has that gotten the crowd into this game. The fans are out tonight despite the weather, and boy, did Gutowski give them something to cheer about there.
The Callahan count continues to rise. Excellent handler defense from the second-year pro. And the guy they call Gumby secures the defensive score.
It's just so tough for a D-line offense when your last reset cut is coming off the front of the stack or coming off that downfield space. There's so much time for the defender, even if they're trailing by a step or two, that defender can just sell out and completely commit to going in that straight line space to the backfield. And there's a different dynamic in that position for defenders that helps them make up ground as opposed to another cut where there are more options for the receiver.
Second Callahan of the season for the Radicals. Jake Carrico had one in the Pittsburgh game a couple weeks ago. Vinoka for Klain. One thing we should note, Matt Rader expected to be in the lineup for Minnesota tonight, but he had travel issues on the way here. Tons of storms throughout the Midwest. He's on his way. They expected him to get here a little bit after the start of the game. We'll see how quickly he can make an impact, get his cleats on, warm up. Certainly a big cog to be missing as Berry shoots it for Larson. Colin Berry in his season debut shows what he can do.
And that's certainly a welcome sight for Minnesota, getting Colin Berry back on the field. I know earlier this season he was dealing with a hamstring issue, and then later on with a flu-like symptoms to miss a game as well. So he's really one of those vets that we were talking about earlier that needs to step up in this game in order to allow the Green Shield to really stay competitive with some of the losses that they have tonight.
A fourth member of our broadcast crew tonight, Adam Ruffner, joins us from down on the sideline. Adam, what's the energy like down there? What have you seen through these first 10 minutes? We apologize for the technical difficulties. We'll try to figure that out and hear from the always insightful co-host of the Swing Pass podcast. There's a turnover in the backfield, but we've got a whistle. Brian Hart, nice to see him back on the field for the Radicals. Luo, nice vision. Marcus floats it to the end zone. Avery Johnson with a score. And Madison leads by 2, just over a minute to play in the opening quarter.
And for those that don't understand that celebration, last year Avery Johnson actually broke his arm laying out in that same corner on that same type of play. So I think he's trying to tell everybody his arm's intact this time.
What a moment there for Johnson, and what spacing there from the Radicals offense. Just not on top of each other, allowing those continuation throws to open space, not clogging on one side of the field. When you put those defenders on islands, it's just so difficult for them to deal with. And credit to Shrywise for architecting with Tim DeBile what that offense was going to look like on that point.
First assist of the night for Kai Marcus, his 5th of the year. Marcus did not play in Detroit last week. He had 4 assists in the opening win at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, by the way, was down a couple early against Detroit. They bounced back and were up 3 at the half.
Nice work there by Sterling Kanaki in the lane. He made Minnesota make multiple moves to try and get open and made Minnesota think just a little bit longer about that underneath throw leading to the turnover.
Radicals got a break on the second point of the game, led 2-0. This would be the first break for either side since. Lead forth for Kelson Alexander.
10 seconds left here. Is Tim DeBile going to burn one?
Be surprised if he does. Alexander called for a stall.
That's a tough outcome there.
So that stops the clock. 3.5 seconds. Minnesota's going to have a chance to shoot it from midfield to the end zone. This is a time where they wish they had Matt Rader on the field. Colin Berry, Quinn Snyder, big targets as Klain rips it deep.
Final throw of the quarter, and it's brought down by a tumbling Brian Vinoka. And the Wind Chill are back within one.
And those are some of the demons that Madison has really been trying to fight off over the last couple of years. The end of the quarter situations they have been absolutely devastated by. I know Tim DeBile has put in a ton of work along with Jacob Spiro to try to fix those issues. Right now, missing a guy like Max Sample, who's 6'8", and can be a real target back there for those Ds is playing a big part.
I mean, that's just a gut-wrenching sequence there for Madison. Kanaki works so hard to kind of intimidate that turnover. They get the ball with a chance to make a break. They could extend their lead, and instead they give up an end-of-quarter buzzer beater, and it's a one-goal game once again.
Saw the looks of exasperation on the Radicals' faces. Madison outplayed Minnesota in the first quarter, but we got ourselves a one-goal game.
To me, ultimate is confidence.
Confidence that my focus, my hard work will pay off. I push. So when I step out on that field
And look at the 7 across from me,
I know
that they aren't ready.
Well, despite the thunderstorms really hurting this ultimate celebration that we've had today in the capital city, we got a great crowd on hand and an exciting game through 12 minutes. Ben Feldman's wind chill getting a buzzer-beating grab from Brian Vinoka. He said he does a little bit of everything. Usually you don't think of him as a buzzer-beater conversion guy, but no Matt Rader, no problem. We got Bevon. Now Madison has to pull to start the second, and Minnesota has a chance to tie.
Yvonne's got hops for days, so he may be giving up a few inches, but once he gets a second to turn on those pogo sticks, he can get up there.
Luke Marks will do the honors to begin quarter number 2. 4 goals, 4 assists, 4 Ds for Marks in the first 2 games of this year's Radical season. Josh Klain from his own end zone, double teamed. Snyder to Larson, and back to Klain. Much more breathing room now, and a touch for MJ, Michael Jordan. Here's Bevon underneath, and he'll take the shot. Mechanix chasing Snyder in the end zone. Oh, goodness! Quinn Snyder to the top floor. Skies Andrew Mechanix for the score.
And what an absolute gem of a play by Quinn Snyder there. Andrew Mechanix is no slouch in terms of height. Watch this disc, floats perfectly on a shelf, and Quinn Snyder goes up and absolutely roofs Andrew Mechanix. What a play.
So Snyder took a red eye last night from Vancouver to Chicago, landed at 5 a.m. this morning, got a little bit of shut-eye at a hotel, worked remotely, took a bus from Chicago to get here for this game. And I'll tell you what, I can't even tell that he's done that because he is showing up here ready to play, turning on the jets, jumping out of the roof.
That type of dedication is why he can jump like that.
Not wrong, my friend.
A lesson we all could perhaps learn. Not that we're going to try to embrace that schedule, because it sounds exhausting. So the momentum here has swung, and this is a huge point for the Radicals offense. Colin, you've been an O-line player in situations like this, after a break, after a momentum play. How do you maintain your composure?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is where you lean on your veteran players within the line. In years past, I always would try to step up. Guys like Peter Graffi would really try to level things out for us. And it's all about the next point. You can't worry about anything else. It's the next point. You got to forget everything in the past.
Noah Hansen massaging that calf. Hopefully he's okay. Takes a sub. And that's a turnover. Bobbled and dropped by Brian Hart on a rising throw from Luo. Winchell looking for their first lead. Lacey swings it.
Ben Feldman has both of his timeouts. Will he use one on this possession?
He's walking the sideline right near the official. And we get a whistle, and a timeout is called. 96 seconds into this second quarter. And the wind chill about 30-something yards away from having their first lead tonight. A bunch of players who are in this game tonight have won gold medals in the past. A bunch of broadcasters in this game tonight have won gold medals as well. Look at this photo from 2013, the U23 national team. And in the middle there, you got
Josh Klain,
Kelson Alexander, and Brian Hart, who are playing tonight. And there's Ian Toner and Colin Camp as well. 11 years ago, guys. Does it feel like that long?
I can't believe you guys did this to me right now. I can't believe this.
I know, I can't either. This makes me feel so old. My gosh.
What do you remember most from that experience with those teammates?
If we're talking about the guys playing in this game, I just remember how much of a rock Brian Hart was. And that kid was playing through all kinds of pain and foot injury and difficulty. He never complained once to anybody. He was the central grounding force, keeping everyone calm and level for so many of us who hadn't necessarily, and I can't speak for Colin, competed on a stage like that before.
Completely agree with Toner. Yeah, it was one of those experiences where as a team we came together. It was good vibes the whole time, and it helped because we were winning throughout.
Winning solves a lot of problems, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You guys won the gold medal in Toronto, right?
And we lived to tell the tale.
But only one of my knees survived.
Crossfield hammer, and Josh Klain puts Minnesota on top for the first time this evening, 6-5 chill.
I know we got to talk about this game. I'm glad you're willing to be the one making the joke about that, Colin, because I felt so bad for you dealing with the ACL tear there, but such a huge part of our offensive success at that tournament. And speaking of offensive success, how about this Minnesota squad valuing the break opportunity, getting the right personnel out there after the timeout, and the crossfield hammer converting?
Yeah, this is exactly what Minnesota has shown over the last couple of years, building into this championship-type level team. They get hit with a gut punch to start the game. They absorb that blow, and they come back with a strong fight. That's not what the Windshield were in the past, and Ben has done a great job of really shifting that mentality and creating a culture where they can shift that mentality.
And we got some technical difficulties from the sideline, but
the Radicals are having some technical difficulties on the field as well.
Getting word from our colleague Adam Ruffner that A, Matt Rader is here, and B, there's a little bit of rain starting to fall and get things a little slicker down there. So be interested to see what else Adam can observe on the sideline.
Brett Bergmeyer. Matt Johnson. Excuse me, Christian Johnson. And here's Mattis. Resets for Vanny Mortel. Before tonight, Vanny Mortel had played only one D point compared to 50 O points in the first few games. Minnesota switching into defense tonight for situations like this. Although Ben Feldman wants to get the O-line on the field. Andy Mortel's like, I had everything under control. And yet, second time out of the corner. Madison was up 5-3 with the disc, looking to go up 6-3 when they got stalled out at midfield with 3.5 seconds left in the quarter. And since then, it's a 3-0 run for the wind chill, including the buzzer beater.
Yeah, and you never want to question Coach DeBile. He's had a lot of success throughout the years, but I think Toner was spot on in that situation. Kelson Alexander looked really uncomfortable. The time was winding down. And yeah, it was a really good opportunity to take a time out. I was really fucking things and essentially guarantee yourself a 5-3 with all the momentum at that point.
Assistant coach Max Longchamp leading the wind chill huddle there. Ben Feldman has raved about his group of assistant coaches. He's added Carlos Lopez, who's a part of the USA national team staff for the mixed team that's headed to Australia. And Kelsey Percy has been on the staff in the past. Max Longchamp has an incredible database of information that has been very significant to Minnesota's recent success. So after the timeout, wind chill trying to convert their second break. I'm impressed by Larson tonight. He's out there running hard. You can tell he's in championship shape. Savell Fernandez to the open, Vinoka bursting up the line for the score. 4 straight for the wind chill.
What an addition for Minnesota. Leo Savell Fernandez has those Minnesota roots. He's just never been able to be back in the community during the pro season. And Ben Feldman had said, hey, every spring, every summer, I send him a message, hey, any chance you're going to be back? Any chance you want to do this? And the stars have finally aligned here for his commitment to be on the level in this 2024 season, and you can see what he brings to the group as we take a look back at this buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter.
That's when the momentum really shifted. That made it 5-4. The Klein score made it 6-5, and now Vinoka just wanting this space more. And the Radicals sideline is silent right now. Wind chill looking to keep it rolling. Said 3 points in a row now. It feels like a must score for Madison. Marcus sends it high in the air. Gutowski read it well and rips it down with the left hand.
And we had talked about earlier how some of the play of Gabe Bordak had allowed Gutowski to play a bit more of a hybrid role. You can see Tim DeBile there leaning on Gutowski to come back in, grab a goal from them, something he did many times last year and has done so far this year as well. So you can see early on Tim DeBile, some of the things he maybe wanted to implement, some of the changes he wanted to put in with this offense, he's kind of falling back on some of the more guaranteed type situations.
Colin, there was a time if you lofted a throw the way Marcus just did, you'd find your butt on the bench, I think, the next point. But Kai has a different level of permission to take those chances in the Madison offense.
Absolutely. He has the full send green light, unlike anyone I've ever seen in this offense.
2 assists for Kai. Gutowski with a couple of goals as well. Wind chill with a 1-goal lead. Leo Savell Fernandez sending it over Luke Marks, but Marks takes care of it. What do we got? Officials blow the play dead. There was certainly contact after Marks pulled it down. Could see that being a foul on Minnesota. I can't imagine they call a foul on Marks. He was in position with every right to that disc.
Completely agree with you.
And that's almost a bit of an unlucky break for Madison if that's the case, as they were off to the races. They're basically playing 7-on-6.
Long talk here. Luke Marks has the Frisbee. Radicals with a chance to tie this thing up. It's not going to happen, at least on that possession. Klain quickly collects. Barry floats it over the target, back to the end zone. Incomplete.
Always bound to have at least one of those crazy red zone sequences in a Minnesota-Madison matchup. Wonder if we've actually just gotten it out of the way here in the second quarter, or if it'll be the first of many.
Second break chance to the point for the Radicals. Laying out near midfield, keeping possession alive. Mac Weber. Jake Carrico. The barbecue backhand to Luke Marks. Weber keeps it moving. Carrico to the end zone. Pierin Robert scores the goal, and we're even again, 7-up.
I mean, this is just becoming a game of runs. 6-3, 7-7. Who can actually stake a claim to momentum and sustain it for any meaningful period of time in this game?
Welcome to the Madison and Minnesota rivalry, where chaos ensues at all times.
I like the way you described that.
What are these games like to play in, anticipating and dealing with that chaos?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you expect the runs to happen, right? When you're used to playing in this rivalry game, you know each other so well. It's actually almost surprising if you're up by 6 or 7, because you just don't expect that to happen. But you know when you're up by 6 or 7, that can flip quickly.
So Minnesota's D-line primarily out there after the O-line got broken. Cousins to Barkas. Keeps it moving. Johnson to Vandy Mortel. Wide open Cousins. Quick release. Bergmeyer. And Mattis. Able to finish that point off, his 98th career score for the veteran Brandon Mattis, who's been on the wind chill since the beginning.
Earlier in this game, the personnel populating what on this point was an O-line but is traditionally a Minnesota D-line were struggling to get the disc off the sideline, and they were falling victim to the opportunistic Madison double teams and lane poaches. On that possession, they didn't exactly bounce it off the line quickly, but they understood that they needed to go against the grain, not let Madison's double team set in. That hammer off the line, so critical to changing the point of the attack, breaking down the foundation of the defense, and opening up that break side, so to speak, continuation for the goal.
Well, in the lead up to this game, too, we were talking to Coach Feldman, and he talked about how Minnesota needed to get back to playing their type of ultimate. That is their type of ultimate, that patient offense, really utilizing their legs to open up their throws. And we're seeing that more and more throughout the points. I think the last 4 goals as well have been scored by their veterans, right? Bevon, Klain, and also right there, Mattis.
Well, those who are familiar with the story of the day here in Madison, Wisconsin, I think lightning has come too close to Breese Stevens Field. And unfortunately, that means we're going to have a stoppage here with 5:16 to play in the second quarter. Minnesota by 1. And the Radicals ready to receive when we resume, but for the moment, there's going to be at least a little bit of a delay. The evening forecast certainly looked better. We knew there was a tail on a weather system, but the fact that the referees have not sprinted to shelter is probably a positive sign. But, man, what a game so far. What a day it has been. Colin, I know you've had some crazy weather in this town over the course of the past week or so, but is this normal?
No, this isn't normal. I mean, it's interesting because we've had such a pleasant spring. We've had so many days in the 70s and 80s where it was sunny and calm and low breeze, and now all of a sudden we're looking at these rain showers and severe thunderstorms, really.
Welcome back to our nice cozy dry broadcast booth. Colin, Ian, I'm Evan. It's been a wild start to the season around the league. If you think about it, week one you were in Salt Lake for the Shred. They weren't perfect, but they certainly made an opening statement in week one. And then week two we saw the New York Empire lose for the first time in almost 3 years. Those are just a couple of the fascinating storylines we've seen so far this season across the league.
Well, even with that imperfect week one and perhaps a performance that wasn't up to their standards against San Diego, for my money, Salt Lake is the team to beat in the league right now, and they're the odds-on championship favorite. They play an offense that utilizes the width and depth of the field better than I think any other offense in the league right now. They have a bunch of young, springy, endurance-heavy athletes who can sustain that churn and that open up space downfield all game long for each other. And I'm trying to come up with a team in the back of my mind who can really challenge them. Carolina looks strong. Atlanta looks good. You never know how much continuity they're going to have on their roster from game to game. But Salt Lake is the class of the league right now.
Well, I would say, honestly, that's a great point, because once you get that championship taste in your mouth, that Final Four weekend taste in your mouth, you have something to fight for the next year. Like we were talking about earlier, Coach Feldman was having a really hard time convincing those wind chill players that they were a championship team, that needed to be their goal when they had never reached that point before. Salt Lake City was there last year. They had one heck of a play to make the championship game.
Yeah.
And they ran into a buzzsaw that was New York. Things are different in the league this year. There's been some key changes to the rosters, and now Salt Lake City sees this opportunity on their home field to take advantage and win their first ever championship.
Let's take a quick thought back at the championship weekend last year as the rain continues to pour down here at Breese Stevens Field. The Minnesota Wind Chill were seconds away from winning that semifinal and advancing to the championship game, as we got to put the windows back in our booth because the wind is coming in. Let's take it to a break.
It's raining sideways, folks.
It is raining sideways here in Madison, and I said we were cozy and dry in the booth, and Mother Nature said, "Take this." All right, Super Series. We're in a rain delay, and it is really coming down.
To me, ultimate is confidence.
Confidence that my focus, my hard work will pay off. I push. So when I step out on that field
And look at the 7 across from me,
I know
that they aren't ready.
Hello, Premium Trail Mix. PowerUp is a snack that is uncomplicated and uncompromising.
Every ingredient is thoughtfully sourced and carefully crafted for a mix that elevates your snacking experience.
There's no better way to power up your day.
My first few years of college, I threw every single day. Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working towards winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
Well, it's been that kind of a day here in Madison, Wisconsin. The skies have opened up numerous times. We have seen a bunch of lightning bolts. We need to update that graphic, folks. Light rain. If this is light rain, then I don't want to see normal rain because that would be more like biblical rain. Yeah, we're wet, but we're fine. Colin Camp, Ian Toner, Evan Lepler. There's such an anticipation for morning number one at college nationals. You really can't describe it unless you're there. You guys have played in it. I've just been there as a fan and a broadcaster. But it was going to be such a special day, and we're not even through one round before the Lightning arrives this morning. Had multiple stoppages, and of course the UFA not immune from Mother Nature either. What a day it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was saying right before we got off the broadcast here, it's been gorgeous here in Madison, really up until about a week ago. And so it's so unfortunate that this is the timing to see this type of weather because Madison loves Ultimate, and we love putting on Ultimate events. So to not have the opportunity to do that with Nationals, with the home opener, it's really disappointing for the community.
You got to admire the dedication.
Yeah,
that individual.
Are they preparing for the amazing race or something? Like, what do we got going on here?
Best fans in the league.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That too.
They're not the only ones. We got a one-score game. Minnesota is leading 8-7
and it has not just been a linear path to 8-7. It has been windy back and forth. Minnesota had a chance to break on point number 1, couldn't do it. Minnesota fell behind 2-0. They were down 5-3. Madison had the disc to go up 6-3 at the end of the first, and that's when everything kind of flipped because of a stall at midfield. If you're just joining us, here's how we got to this point. Early in the game, high stall shot. Gabe Bordick brings it down, and Pat Schreiwise gets a nice assist courtesy of the youngster out of Northeastern.
This is one of those pieces that Tim DeBile has been looking to take on bigger responsibility. He didn't know that he was going to have that piece this season, but put himself on the map in tryouts, and we get a look at the Callahan here.
Gutowski kind of filling the role that you used to play as an O-line goal scorer, Colin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a role that Tim DeBile is always looking for. He wants guys that are willing and able to make those kill cuts, fill up the stat sheet, and really open up space for the team.
Saw the buzzer beater, Bevon, Sky in the pack, and Brandon Mattis scoring a goal. 5:16 to play in the second quarter, and we will step aside for the duration of this rain delay. Hopefully it won't be too long, so don't go too far. UFA Super Series currently with the pause button.
Oh, he's getting the crowd going.
Are you kidding me? You are kidding me! Holy smokes! Was there any doubt? Was there any doubt?
This is going to be the game. Joel Clutton battling for position. He tips it to the end zone where it's caught by Elijah Jaime at the buzzer to tie the game. Incredible awareness from Clutton, and we've got overtime tonight.
On the grand stage to keep possession alive.
Huge bid, gets the time.
Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! One of the plays of the year.
Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.
Rains continue to fall here at Breese Stevens Field. Week 5 action in the Ultimate Frisbee Association with the Minnesota wind chill leading 8-7. With this break in the action, we're going to take you back to the best plays from Week 4. Here's last week's top 10.
Defenders and handler coverage in the league, but Pollard will take a shot. Will he get enough float on it? He has a man chasing it down, a slow drop, and a diving goal! Paul Owens with the theatrics has another clean hold for the Philadelphia offense.
What a shot from James Pollard. That was a dime.
Lots of time coming off the clock. Here's a look for Babbitt with Droston Davis.
A lot of contact in there, doesn't matter.
Got it. Comes down with it, Sadota Babbitt. The UMass boys have the connection. Jeff Babbitt gets up over Dross and Davis.
I believe it's 620 goals on the career. If this disc goes far enough and he can get underneath it, it might be 621, but that time, and it's a turnover as Burnett was in coverage and was able to get the D.
O-line is going to have to be prepared for a Salt Lake D-line offense that loves to counterattack, and Noah Coleman goes horizontal to get the disc back for the Summit O-line. Coleman to the end zone. Tatum catches it.
That's not how they drew it up, but Coolman, that's what you want to see from your leaders.
There's the first turnover of the second half for the Colorado Summit. Here's Johnny Hoffman turning on the Jets. Can Hoffman get there? Yes, sir!
Yeah, we saw it in Oakland, and we're seeing it here tonight. These guys can hit the deep shot, and they're definitely going to take the deep shot. You know, Salt Lake has opened up the...
I would love to see DC pressure the handlers in the backfield. I mean, this is Callahan territory. No giving in.
Oh, man, Isaac Lee, so close. Almost on cue for you, Will. Lee dives, Merriman gets the goal. It's a tie game here in D.C.
That is incredible, and we talked about Isaac Lee last week.
Speaking of striving, I think...
Oh, here we go again.
Another shot. Magzik looking for Williams. This one's trailing off left. This one's got a huge amount of distance. Max tracking and finds it. Magzik just bombed an 85-yard flick into the end zone, and his co-captain pulled it down. What a play.
Magzik is walking off the field with the two hands up shrug, and...
As well as Tripolis and Martin. Mott to Owens. Here it is for the game. Jump ball back in the end zone. Pollard snaps it. Is he in? He is! Overtime here in D.C.
Holy smokes.
For 11 before that. And now D.C. subs on their offense. And now they have a chance to win this game. McDonald, healthy and good, back out on the field. Bonet slashes in front of him. He takes his shot to Tyler Monroe for the win! The DC Breeze come back and beat the Philadelphia Phoenix. What a game!
Well, that was a couple years ago at the end of the quarter. He threw behind the back for the goal.
Oh, my goodness.
Never know when you're going to need that one.
Who can forget that? Alex Atkins stepping into a backhand. This will get to the end zone. Crowd forming underneath. Noah Coleman goes up above everyone and rips it down with authority.
Noah Coolman, the big show today, makes some of the most ridiculous plays in the first quarter and punctuates it by just skying the pack from the backside over everybody. Clearly gets first touch. Superman is in the building.
to not having his presence on the field. I mean, they will pick up Kenny Fridella, which is going to be a big pickup for them. But losing Shepard is a big loss.
Well, one of the things I think that you've seen, you pointed out several times tonight, is that a guy stepping into a role that's often played, nobody picking up on defense at first, but Vukovic picks up Beauregard off the back. A little bit of jostling, and Vukovic can really get up, and he does there, pulls it back down. And then he sends it out to Byrne, and now we're under a minute left to play. But Jimmy Toll became the downfield spark plug, initiating a lot of those cuts. He doesn't have the same set of magic throws that Max does, but he's very competent, and when he's got an open receiver, he can hit him. Logan Call hits an open Kevin Nickel. Nickel finds Mallard.
Yeah, and I think to your point, not that it's a surprise to anybody, but seeing Jimmy really pick up some of that slack was a big thing to come out of this game, and hoping that he can do that again tomorrow.
The lights flash and dim for Logan Call to Kevin Nickel, and there you go. If the Thunderbirds can keep the Mechanix off the board, they will end up with a third consecutive, maybe even fourth, going back to last year, 10-point plus win. And it's got to feel good that they were able to overcome their initial offensive struggles and ineptitude, and to put together the kind of game that you would expect them to play against an opponent with this pedigree.
Yeah, it definitely didn't look good early, but I think it's clear the Thunderbirds have made it very obvious who the better team is here, and to no surprise to any of us here. But like I said to you at the beginning of the game, at any point they could break that streak. It will happen one of these days.
I'll believe it when I see it, and I'm not going to see it tonight. Here they go, about 15 seconds left, and they're running and gunning. Felton finds Rudy in the end zone, and I think that'll probably be the final score. I don't see the Thunderbirds trying to add insult to injury here. Although you never do know, they are sending out some tall trees. And again, like you said, especially that actually with Repperman and Mast and Johnson coming out on the field suggests to me that we will not look for a big shot into the end zone, because that's exactly the kind of play that you're going to get your starters injured on. You don't need Carl Johnson and Anson Repperman underneath the floating disc right now. I think they should probably try to throw 2 passes and call it a night, shake hands, and get ready to get on the bus to Toronto.
Yeah, and I think no doubt that's what they will do here. Just throw those 2 passes and get out with a good win by the Thunderbirds.
Toronto, as we said, winless so far, snapped the Montreal Royale streak of consecutive losses last week, and hopefully the Thunderbirds will add to their woes. Mast finds Driehaus, a couple of big guys downfield. Maybe Repperman will try to just float one up for Johnson, and he does. Let's see if this one's even going to stay in play, and it won't. On the back line, falls harmlessly to the turf. Zeros on the clock. The game is over. So, after an initial stumble and a surge by a scrappy Detroit Mechanix team, the Thunderbirds will walk out of Highmark Stadium with the first win of a weekend doubleheader. They are now 2-2. It is 27-18, favor of them, the final score, and they are on their way to play the Rush in Toronto.
I think we've already called out all of the positives about this game for the Thunderbirds. The resilience that they saw on offense, the efficiency that they had with their defensive line converting. If there's anything to look at this game and say maybe a cause for concern for the Thunderbirds, it's just that they let the Mechanix score a little bit more than any other team did. 18 points versus 16, which was their previous high water mark. But overall, very good game by the Thunderbirds.
And that pace of throws that you noticed early on, David, that the Mechanix had to throw only slowed down a little. They finished with 304 throws. And when we look at O-line conversions, a lot better than it started. 15 for 25 for the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, strong game for the Thunderbirds on offense, getting the disc in the end zone. Strong game for the Thunderbirds on defense, 12 of 17 on D-line conversions. Like I said earlier, that would be an elite level, championship level even, for an O-line to be converting at that rate. So really good job by the defense, getting the disc from the Mechanix and then converting.
And the Thunderbirds not afraid to air it out tonight. You look at, they threw 23 hucks, they connected on 17 of them, and while Anil Driehaus was on the throwing end of that a number of times, they actually had a big cast of characters throwing deep and going deep. Jonathan Mast with a huck goal that he milked over the goal line. So Thunderbirds very successful with the deep game, and I know you can tell people from your perspective as playing all those years on an O-line, it's nice when you can score quickly.
Yeah, and we're going to go to some of the replays from the game here.
Rudy sends one out and looks like it was going to get beyond its receiver, but Moreno gets it. There's Jimmy Toll with another one of his highlight throws, and then on a rope from Jake Felton in the back of the end zone, tracked down by Dewey. Here's McMonigal. He caught a number of them tonight and was fouled on one of them. Charlie Vukovic gets one blocked by Gessner, but helped out by Max Devine, who had a nice game this evening. This one jammed into the corner, and Robin Mallard gets a block. As we said, Felton throwing well and was fouled on that one. This one at the end of the quarter, Vukovic coming down with it. Thunderbirds came down with a lot in the end zone. Those count on those huck statistics. Malachi Marshall throws one up to Chris Graber, always a good-looking target. And Graber does what Graber does, and there's the captain knocking over the pylon. He owned this game. So, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. Pittsburgh Thunderbirds come out with a win. They go on the road to Toronto tomorrow. I'm Matt Weiss with David Batts. On behalf of the Thunderbirds, the UFA, and the Mechanix, we thank you for joining us.
My first few years of college, I threw every single day. Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working toward winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
Chicago, end of quarter defense they threw against the Havoc earlier. they effectively just wanted to stifle Havoc, make them take a lot of time, so they had to put up that big shot towards the end, you know. And Havoc took the shot. They just missed it last quarter. But, you know, they just put some legs out there to make the handlers take a lot of movement, swings back and forth, with no real vertical advancement down the field, a lot of horizontal movement. And, you know, if Chicago gets another break here and they end up pulling, I don't want to see the Havoc in that situation. It would not be good for them going into half.
All right, a couple of minutes here before halftime. 9-5 lead. So, kind of on pace for something similar, something close to what the Havoc did last week and what the Union had a couple of weeks ago. A little bit low scoring affair, but if things get going there in the second, you can see a lot of back and forth and this thing pick up here. The wind doesn't seem like it's going to slow down at all, so that team that's going left to right is going to have that wind blowing at the backside. Let's see what the Union do here with the pull off of the score. And not too many sweatbands or gloves or anything like that over on the Union side, so
yeah,
not too worried about sweaty fingers or hands.
Maybe they're just nervous to have a new prom date.
Here's a send into the wind. Let's see what the Havoc does. Hangs up in the air.
Jimmy's are off fielding the pull. Moving up to Seidenberger.
Seidenberger sends it.
Dylan Zarang finding some space.
Zarang's going to have to box his man out. He goes! He skies for it!
Good.
What a score!
Miss.
He skied up above the Union defender for the goal.
Goodness gracious. And Dylan Zarang, no stranger to the air. We've seen him find it horizontally earlier. But look at this elevation. Ooh. Through the contact. What a great play by Dylan Zarang with the kick spike.
Reckless abandon for his body, but he comes down with it for a score. That gets the Havoc up to 6. Still trail the Union 9-6, but quick offense. And it feels like Seidenberger maybe thought about it, and then the defense kind of let him have that room to go ahead and make his throw. Ultimately, he makes a huge throw.
Yeah, and a little fun fact about Dylan Zarang, he tried out for the first year of Houston Havoc, effectively shattered his hand an hour into the open tryout. And, you know, his hopes for that season were all but dashed. Came back, showed up this year. And, ladies and gentlemen, you just saw exactly why he is on this team.
Let's see what the Union do as a response here. There's a little bit of a double team.
Yeah, with two big marks from Zach Connor and Kevin Bernie Land.
Let's see what, double team on Lithio, slow down that Union offense that moves at such a good pace when he's out there kind of directing traffic.
Havoc making a bit of an adjustment. They have number 27, Elliot Sakash, on number 11, Matthews, but try and adjust for,
here's Shanahan.
Put some legs on him.
Just a dump off there. Draymond. Oh, a little bit of a miscommunication. A little contact there. I don't know if that one's going to get called.
That one seemed to just get away from the thrower.
Looked like it didn't look intentional. It looked like your legs just got tied up there. Let's see what the official's call here is.
We'll see what happens here.
Ooh, you know what? That one's a 50-50 call, and I wouldn't be upset with either way the official calls that one.
Yeah, and
looks like the Union are going to hang on to this.
Yeah, it's important to remember that Ultimate Frisbee, at every level of the game, is a non-contact sport. And the way I've always thought about it is if you can't make the play without contact, you know, then there's no real play to be made at all. You know, we prioritize safety above everything else in this sport. And that one's
it looks like we're going to get I initially believed it was going to be the Union taking over, but it's going to be the Havoc.
And it looks like Jeff Weiss may have made some sort of integrity call there, saying that even though there was contact after the defensive play, it didn't really affect the play that much. So good on him to make that call.
Of course, that is one of the UFA rules. And you see it enforced, I say used, I guess better term. You see it used quite a bit. A lot of good good fellas playing this.
Yeah, spirit of the game definitely weighs heavy on an Ultimate Frisbee player's mind.
Less than a minute now. Let's see what the Havoc can do. Can they close the gap just a little bit more?
Yeah,
Have to make something happen here. 40 seconds.
And you're starting to think from Coach Forth's mind, you know, this is Havoc's methodical line that works it up the field.
Caden Bird with a risky throw. Land with a sliding catch. Got to make something happen here. 25 seconds.
Back to land.
It can go quickly. It can be an eternity. Cam Albin into the end zone for a score.
Finding Elliott Saycash. Those are the wheels we were just talking about.
Can't say it enough. You say cash, that score was moved.
Exactly. And Havoc closing that lead to 2. We'll see what they do here. Got to expect some big bodies on the line, right?
You do not want to lose that momentum headed into halftime here if you're the Havoc. Saycash coming down with it. I mean, I worried there a little bit there with some of the methodical nature, about 40 or so seconds left on the clock. But next thing you know, you're about midfield. Next thing you know, you're about 15 yards out, and then you're putting one on the board if you're the Havoc.
And Havoc, you know, they saw him last play. They've got Dylan Zarang back on the line here.
What's the move here on the pull? 17 seconds. You don't want the Union to do anything.
Honestly, I think the play here is you just so Matt Bennett's probably going to try another one of those big blady rollers to put him in the back of the end zone. They're probably going to hang out both Ben Lewis and Frankie Gomez in the back here. Or it looks like they're sending Dylan.
Oh, the roller almost gets out the back. Oh, it does actually, and they're going to get that thing started pretty quick though.
Yep, and so they have Frankie Gomez and looks like Dane Bossert and Marshall Din just hanging out towards the back.
Don't let anybody get behind you too far. There's the big send here. This might do it.
Ooh.
And now it's batted away, and our time's going to expire here.
Frankie Gomez just getting a hand in there to save the play for Houston Havoc.
Saved the play and ended the first half on a defensive play. There's the big send. You see it here on the replay. Our fantastic camera crew gets it. 21, Frankie Gomez knocking that one away. 9.
To me, ultimate is confidence.
Confidence that my focus, my hard work will pay off. I push. So when I step out on that field
and look at the 7 across from me,
I know
that they aren't ready.
Hello, Premium Trail Mix. PowerUp is a snack that is uncomplicated and uncompromising. Every ingredient is thoughtfully sourced and carefully crafted for a mix that elevates your snacking experience. There's no better way to power up your day.
getting the crowd going.
Are you kidding me? You are kidding me! Holy smokes!
Was there any doubt? Was there any doubt?
This is going to be the game. Joel Clutton battling for position. He tips it to the end zone where it's caught by Elijah Jaime at the buzzer to tie the game. Incredible awareness from Clutton, and we've got overtime tonight. On the grand stage to keep possession alive.
Huge bid, gets the time.
Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me?
And an incredible catch.
You are kidding me.
Oh my God!
One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.
Good question. I love playing against Dylan a lot. We played club for a little bit together, but he's just obviously a really hard worker on defense and is a smart player as well. So it's always hard to kind of pick the right spots to be in. You're playing against him, and also on the turn, he just runs for the goal every time, so you have to just be heads up the entire time. So it's always like a big chess match with him and always having to be engaged.
It is impossible to bet against Dylan DeClercq in a Madison game. He played for Noise, which is a Madison club team. He loves the heckling from the fans. That just fuels him. And if it's going to be a defensive grinder and a gritty game, there's nobody I want on the field more. So look for Dylan to get a couple blocks, a bunch of breakaway scores. Yeah, he always pops off when he plays here.
So I think our defense does a good job against him generally. I think they play a lot of vert and 32 for the most part, and we've been playing that against our defense in practice. They have a lot of reps against that. I think our offense is a little different this year as opposed to previous years. So I think this year we're running more like a hybrid offense where there's less burden on the handlers to be doing a lot of stuff, which I think is good for us, not getting tired over the course of the entire game. And I think it'll be harder for them to kind of key in on certain players. It'll be all 7 guys in the field are doing something to keep their defender occupied.
My first few years of college, I threw every single day. Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working toward winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
Early in the matchup, the quick shots down the field, it was Wilson Matthews, who is not Jeff Weiss's size. That time, jump ball, Jeff's ball. Frisbee hoops. They don't really call it jump Frisbee, though. That went up in the air. Weiss with 3 scores on the evening. Throw yards, and assist under his belt as well.
And Havoc having a little bit of trouble shutting down these opening pull plays from the Union here, you know?
Right off the top of my head, I can think of 4.
Exactly.
Matthews' first 3 scores are kind of, you know,
when
big plays, and that one right there.
When half of your scores come from possessions that are less than, you know, 5 throws, maybe?
Yeah.
You know, that's showing that those pull plays are working against the Havoc, and they're not really stagnating them at all. So Havoc's got to figure out, like, what's the chink in the armor for those, you know?
Let's see what Bennett can do with it.
Just cheeky scoober over the top to Jimmy Zara, avoiding the contact with Brian Gaffrower.
Gomez up. Dingus, let's see what he can do with it.
Double team. Getting it back to
Seidenberg. Another double team here. Let's see what Havoc can do to get away from it. There you go.
And it looks like Chicago wants to set this double team on this half of the field, you know, get it on this.
Oh, what an absolute rip.
And
the hammer from Seidenberger for a score. I mean, he uncorked that thing.
Kind of catching, you know, immediately from the tap in, just kind of catching
through the double team.
Exactly, Chicago.
So here
on
we
their
go,
heels.
off the foul.
Exactly.
Chicago barely even gets the double team set, and just wham, right into the end zone.
It was almost as if Chicago, you know, they were raising their hands in reaction to him, you know, when usually those double teams, they have their hands set up high to start.
I've been thinking all day for some sort of burger punt for Simon. I've come up short. I got nothing. Is the Burger King right there? I don't know. I got nothing. Yeah, we'll work on that. It's a long season. It's a long season. We'll come up with something for Simon. All right, let's see what the Havoc do from a defensive standpoint.
Corey Tolbert effectively waiting on that pull to land.
Oh, tried to set up the Matthews deep throw. They are going to go ahead and try to take it. A lot of defense there. Early jump. No. Early jump by the Havoc. There's Wilson Matthews yet again in the end zone.
Really smart play there by Wilson Matthews. He kind of slowed down a little bit, let the disc catch back up to him. And Mark Baldoof misreading it, playing the player a little bit, thinking he had to jump there.
Oh, no.
Goes up too early, and then, you know, just on a platter for Matthews, just running it out.
Oh, man, we have seen him come down with the Frisbee uncontested more than a few times tonight.
And again, there's another one of those possessions. Score for the Union in less than 5 throws there.
I got a hunch that is a big practice emphasis this week for the Havoc. Those quick early scores off the pull, that can't happen time and time again.
Havoc's going to have to make an adjustment to stagnate that, keep an unfortunate drop there by Kyle Kalafa. But yeah, Havoc's going to have to make an adjustment there to stagnate those a little bit. Keep that O-line out there, you know. The weather's only going to do so much, but if their legs aren't there, and Kyle Kalafa coming back to get that one, make the play back, even on the point.
That's one way to make up for it. You make a mistake, you got a little big drop here, go play some defense.
Ben Lewis, eBay looking to move the disc quick.
Ooh, I thought he's going to unload it. He didn't. Seidenberger. He unloads it.
Looking for Kyle Kalafa.
Oh, what a snag!
My goodness. And that's the speed Bex Forth is talking about from some of these rookies. Kyle Kalafa just legging it out.
Full extension on the score.
And
this one's getting tighter and tighter here in Houston tonight.
And honestly, it looks like Sean Seidenberger's starting to...
There's Kalafa with the drop.
Find his...
There's Kalafa with the defense. And there's Kalafa with the score.
Yeah, and Seidenberger kind of finding his stride in that little corner of the field right outside the end zone, you know. The hammer on point. That throw right there, perfect spot for only Kalafa to make the play. You know, let's see if he can keep these numbers moving. And look at the stats of Kyle Kalafa here. 2 goals, only 4 throwing yards, 91 receiving yards. That's some production to see from your rookies.
Absolutely. Havoc send this one away. Big pull, hangs up in the air. Nice, easy throw to get things started for the Union. There's Shanahan. Is he going to unload one? Nope. He thought about it. He thought about it.
Again, Havoc moving the legs, putting another speedster, Dane Bossert, onto Matthews.
Let's see what the Union come up with here. Haven't taken the traditional big shot we've seen them been accustomed to tonight. Kaminsky's making some things happen here, keeping stalls from happening. There's Lithio.
Finds Weiss.
He makes a lot happen, so does Weiss. Kaminsky, you notice a quick little wipe off of his hand there just to get some good grip and make the throw.
Dane Bossert wisely pulling up from that, didn't want to come into the Matthews' legs there.
Weiss to Rivas. Back to Weiss. Methodical here from the Union, trying to take apart the Havoc defense.
Yeah. It's interesting
to
see.
Give and go here. Weiss with he's got to give. And there it is.
Cheeky little backhand.
Man, Kaminsky and Weiss played give and go there for about 4 throws in a row, and it ended up in the end zone for a score.
Yeah. And so that line, again, they did the work to stifle their pull play and, you know, made them grind it out, kept the O-line on the field. Now it's just about putting that pressure. You got to pressure them. You can't let them have this slow, methodical, you know, up and down the field.
12-9 on the scoreboard right now. Chicago Union with 12, Houston Havoc with 9. In the quarter, Union 3, Havoc 2. Starting to see a lot of sweat, a lot of those cold towels, a couple of hands up in the air over there on the Chicago sideline. They seem a little bit more ready for the heat than most expected here. Breaks on the day, 4 of 12 for 40% for the Union, and 2 of 11, 50% here for the Havoc. That doesn't look totally right to me.
Yeah, that math doesn't check out.
I'm not a math major. I let other people do the counting.
I think before we updated it, it was a 50%. I don't think they updated the percentages, but you know, Havoc having the chances, just not executing. I believe Matt.
The 2 of 11 is correct. The 50% is not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
And Captain Matt Bennett spoke earlier this week about it. You know, he said that Havoc has, you know, they get the Ds. They get the chances with the disc. They just got to punch it in, man.
Yep.
And that turns into a completely different ballgame. 2 of 12?
2 of 11.
2 of 11?
Yep. 2 of 11 on break percentage for 18%.
Exactly.
Kind of, you know, even lower than their season number coming in. 24% coming in on this one. Big Sin, hang.
Yeah, plenty of time for Chicago defenders to get down there.
Someone just reported that as an unidentified flying object in the local area.
Yeah.
The Havoc trying to get that UFO down the field.
Yeah, this isn't Roswell, but we're no stranger to it here in Texas.
Sarang, Grafera, Bennett. Oh, thought about Big Sin. Low.
Ooh, Marshall Dinges with the disc here.
Dinges with the snag.
Yep.
Ooh, I thought Zara was going to uncork it. No rush here from the Havoc. Seidenberger, he's had himself a nice quarter.
Yep. Matt Bennett patiently. Oh, and Jimmy Zara putting on a nice move, but Matt Bennett ultimately finding Dylan Zarang across the field.
You got to feel bad for Jimmy Zara when you hit a move like that, but I thought for sure that one was going to stay in the air, but really good defense there by Jake Ruben Miller to knock that one away. That one would have been a tough snag for Ben Lewis, even if Ruben Miller had not been there.
Better not to give him the chance.
Exactly.
I think I will bet on eBay more times than not.
Let's see what the Union can do. Gabrielson gets it going to Ruben Miller. Flicks it up. Nick Pappas, no relation to
the restaurants.
I know the restaurant chain here in Houston. The restaurant chains here in Houston. I may be wrong. Who knows? Maybe he's looking for a Chicago outpost in the future. Chicago looking for a score right now. That's what they're looking for.
Exactly.
Stezlicki into the middle. First time we've called his name today. And oh, man, defense just got lost on that one.
Astrom finding Ruben Miller again. That is Ruben Miller's second bookends on the day. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term bookends, so if you imagine a bookshelf, it has its 2 ends that hold up the books.
Yep.
You get the defensive play, and then you immediately march down the field and you get the goal. You put the 2 ends on that point for your team. And so Ruben Miller making another defensive effort and finding, again, that same corner of the end zone as he did the very first point, having himself a game.
That's Luke Benson. That's 16-plus years of ultimate experience breaking it down here for you. If you're new to UFA action, stick around. We'll learn you a thing or two here. Sometimes Luke teaches me something. 13-9 your score here. The Union, we saw this in the second quarter.
Looking to set that big double team again.
Official
big
Grove to move over just a little bit, but he's going to sling that thing, and it's going to hang up in the air, and the Union are going to get what they wanted. They're going to come out with the Frisbee.
Yep, and that's exactly what the Union's looking for on that double team roller. Ooh, a little bit of contact here. Looks like number 9, Cam Albin, might have had some contact with number, is that 28, Jake Stezlicki on the cut there. Both
contact coming down. No, there's
both
nothing there.
both players seem to be all right, so that's good to see. And it looks like I don't know, some discussion on the field on whether it was a cutting foul or not. Looks like it's being waved off. This play is going to resume here with number 42.
Gabrielson is going to get this thing going. Quick send up the field.
Ooh.
He's licking with a little bit of a miscommunication. Baldoff going to get it started for the Havoc. You get him. Haven't seen a lot of him tonight.
No.
Doesn't have to be on the field a long time to make an impact. That one's going to fly just after.
Frankie Gomez taking another shot. Looks like a little bit of a miscommunication there. Caden Bird not really looking for that disc until it was past him.
Union going to take over here. Coming up on 4:45. Break chance here for Chicago. Ooh, dangerous.
Dangerous territory. The Havoc, like you said earlier, no stranger to the Callahan this year.
Of course, Callahan with the defense takes over possession of the Frisbee in the opposing team's end zone. The only way defense can score.
Yep.
Little timeout here.
The best way, I guess, to describe a Callahan for someone who's kind of new to Frisbee is it's effectively the pick six of Ultimate Frisbee.
Yes.
You know, it's
you can't obviously run with the Frisbee once you get it, but if you come down with it in the end zone, there you go.
Exactly. Looks like timeout here by Chicago, looking to make a few substitutions, get their O-line on the field here. And so we see them running this kind of split stack here where, you know, they kind of have two different setups. They have 3 on the close sideline towards us and 2 on the far sideline. It looks like they're going to initiate on that far sideline with their 2, finding Jeff Weiss over there. Lithio also in that initiating piece.
Watching Wilson Matthews. He'll take off here in one moment or another.
Yeah.
Shanahan comes down with it. There's the send. Oh, this time it's Weiss coming down there. It's going to be a little bit too far for him. Oh, my goodness. Just out of his hand. He got a hand on it, but he did not get all the fingers on it.
And honestly, you know, you see these players make these incredible plays where they're laying out, flying through the air to catch the Frisbee. Sometimes those ones where it's just on the tip and you don't know if you need to lay out there or just try and leg it out, those are the hardest ones.
Havoc will take over. Make something happen here. All right.
Finding Dane Bossert.
Oh, no, a costly error here. Grove can't come up with it, just a little too hot there, and Shanahan's going to take over, try to flip it into the end zone for a score. He does. Sam Kaminsky comes down with that one. Kaminsky going to be in concussion protocol.
Seriously.
Another score here for the Union as a hot third quarter start for the Havoc has cooled off. The Union have got going here. 5-2 in the quarter, 14-9 in the game so far. There's Weiss coming up just a little short. Havoc mistake as Grove can't come up with it. Next thing you know, Shanahan to Kaminsky.
And, you know, you can't help but look at the Houston Havoc a little bit. They have this kind of typical fashion in their games where they have these roller coasters of progression of the game where, you know, they have quarters where they'll play excellent and, you know, they'll start to, you know, close a gap or even extend a lead. And then they have these other quarters where, you know, it's to no real credit of like another team, but they just kind of like fall apart a little bit.
Sure, the consistency's not there.
Yeah, Chicago's giving them chances. Havoc just not executing this quarter as well as they started, you know, with Seidenberger having his 2 assists. And it's showing. And the Havoc kind of falling behind a little bit here with 3.5 minutes left in the third. You know, they need to close that little gap if they want to come into the fourth quarter with, you know, some production, something to look forward to, those sparks, as we mentioned earlier, you know, the sparks of the game to try and get this team in it.
at watchufa.com. Each and every week you get great coverage and recaps of the weeks as well as written previews of the weeks. One of the previews and the conversation about the Havoc heading into this matchup. It's a rare matchup with the Union. Of course, it's not always easy to make the travel work, so a rare matchup with the Union, and the conversation was, hey, you got to get one of these non-Legion matchups if you're the Havoc, if you have designs on making the playoffs. And so this was one of them. Matchup with the Soul, obviously. We're going to have that trip over out east with Carolina and Atlanta. So we're going to need to get one of these. Oh, good defense there. Just right into the passing lane. Let's see if the Union take a shot quick.
In Chicago, they set that double team again right on the Havoc's half of the field. And Havoc got it out of there, but then, usually when you set that double team, your defensive downfield is a little bit kind of like a little bit junkier, a little poachy. And so you don't really recognize the immediate man-to-man defense or player in the space. And that one just kind of got away from Ben Lewis, and Chicago was able to execute off of that, the pull again.
That's what the Union can do here. Yiping Wang sends it back. Oh, risky throw, knocked away, actually ripped away. Yep. As Ben Lewis goes out of bounds. There's the double team to get things started. A lot of contact and let him play. Bennett, deep in his own end zone. Just a little flick there.
Yep. Cheeky scuba over the top there to
risky
Marshall
throw.
Dinges, finding Kyle Kalafa in the middle of the field.
Kalafa comes up with it.
And he's
on his horse. Ben Lewis is going to send it to him. Kalafa's going to come down with it for a score.
And again, Kyle Kalafa showing the legs, showing the speed, and Ben Lewis just putting it out there on a platter for him.
You could see it. It's all. You could see it from up here in our booth as Kalafa comes down with that pass. That was a low one. He sends it out to Lewis, and then he was ready to go. Here's the Union turnover here.
Yeah.
Lewis knocks it away. Lewis sees Kalafa. He sends it that way.
Kyle Kalafa, he sees two defenders upfield, kind of guarding the end zone a little bit. And before his pass even makes it to Ben Lewis, he's got his head down, got his blinders on, says, I know I'm fast. I'm going to see if you guys can keep up. And, Chicago Union gets caught on their heels and Havoc take advantage of it.
He is fast, turned on the jets, and the lack of hair, he's aerodynamic. A little bit faster than usual. We'll get it, White. We'll get it. Havoc pull this one, send it out to.
And Havoc setting their own double team in the middle of the end zone. They're pushing Chicago back deep.
Let's see if they can force an error here. Chicago can do
or
a
at
work
least
out.
get another travel call.
Couple of defenders there, still in their own end zone.
Oh, this goes with Shanahan here, finding through the double team back into the middle of the field. Havoc's doing a terrific job of stagnating now, putting that pressure on Chicago.
A lot of effort on defense. Gotta make something happen here if you're the Union, get this thing out of there. They finally get out of their own end zone. Working down the sideline.
Chicago finding a bit of a rhythm here, getting out of the end zone.
Lithio, is he gonna, thought about the big sin, decided against it. Keeps it off.
And Havoc almost smothering at this point.
Weiss with a catch that not many would have made. There's the send from Draymond into the end zone.
Wow.
Wow, what a catch by Lithio. Taps the toe, comes down with it, and puts another one on the scoreboard for the Union.
And, Havoc putting in a lot of work there on the legs to, stagnate them, having running that switchy zone that didn't really get away, that got away from them earlier. And, we see them force Chicago take a lot of tosses, take a lot of throws, and eventually towards the end of the play, that running just catches up with them, and they just fall behind their man just a step or two.
Lithio did not have much room to work with. Great play to get his feet in there for the score. He's going to stay out there. Saw him wave off a teammate there a second ago. He's good. The heat not bothering him. 15-10. Their score. Havoc are going to need to play some good defense. Most importantly, put some points on the board if they want to stick around in this one.
45 seconds left in this quarter. Let's see what the Havoc do, making no adjustments honestly, kind of a smaller line out here, having both Kalafa and Dylan Zarang on the line. But both have proven, you know, they have the legs. Dylan Zarang proving earlier he can go up with most people.
Saw it at the end of the second quarter. About 40 seconds or so on the clock. The Havoc were able to move down the field and find themselves an opportunity to score. They're looking to do it again here. Ben Lewis sends it up to Zarang.
Finding Gefroer.
Oh, a little bit too long. Can Lewis come down with it? He can't.
And
sacrificing the body.
And that is why they call him eBay. The man loves to bid. And certainly putting it out on the line there, bidding. Oh, my goodness.
So close. The clock's going to get restarted here. About 10 seconds left. Surely.
Havoc need to protect the end zone more so than anything else.
Union
Got a man streaking away.
Oh. A timeout. Great call on the timeout.
Coach Beck's getting the timeout flag out there before.
I think we're going to get, I would say, 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds back on the clock here. But ultimately, we're going to get 3 seconds on the clock. What you're going to get, if you're the Havoc, is an opportunity to put this one in for a score. You're right on the cusp of a score.
Looks
right
like
there.
they got 3 seconds back on the clock.
What's your move? What's your move here?
If I'm the Houston Havoc, I put it in the hands of my, I guess
One of the big three.
I put it in the hands of Jimmy Zara.
Okay.
That left-handed, his flick around, going around his mark. It's been proven to be almost unstoppable at this point in the year. The numbers don't lie. He's showing with the assists. And honestly, I think, yeah. So it looks like what they're doing is...
You're right there in the mind. You're going to get Zara on this.
And they're leaving Matt Bennett, and
Jimmy's got to get it in there. Ooh!
The lefty around flick to Brian Gefroer.
Yes, there it is. It's in. Close, but a score. Great job by Zara.
And Jimmy Zara holding the disc in an over-the-top grip. And so
here we go. Here's the replay. Just flicks it right out.
Yeah, and he had it in an over-the-top grip, forcing number 44 Benjamin Prios there to, anticipate him going high, having his arms up high, and then just flicking it around, getting around the mark while his hands are up high, getting it out there to Brian Gefroer again.
15-11 is your score here at the end of the third quarter. We'll have the fourth quarter and the conclusion of this exciting one here in Houston. When we return for our break, the Union lead 15 to the Havoc's 11.
Ladies and gentlemen.
He's getting the crowd going.
Are you kidding me? You are kidding me! Holy smoke!
Was there any doubt Was there any doubt? This is going to be the game. Joel Clutton battling for position. He tips it to the end zone where it's caught by Elijah Jaime at the buzzer to tie the game. Incredible awareness from Clutton, and we've got overtime tonight. On the grand stage to keep possession alive. Huge bid, gets the touchdown. Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.
To me, ultimate is confidence.
Confidence that my focus, my hard work, will pay off. I push. So when I step out on that field
and look at the 7 across from me,
I know
that they aren't ready.
Premium Trail Mix. PowerUp is a snack that is uncomplicated and uncompromising. Every ingredient is thoughtfully sourced and carefully crafted for a mix that elevates your snacking experience. There's no better way to power up your day.
Well, good evening once again from Breese Stevens Field here in Madison, Wisconsin. The rain is gradually subsiding, and we are about 5 minutes away from resuming this UFA Super Series showcase. The Minnesota Wind Chill and the Madison Radicals, a one-goal game with 5 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the second quarter. Had plenty of twists and turns in this game, in this day. And now we are getting set to resume play. There's going to be a 4-minute halftime after the end of the second quarter. So we basically got 2.5 quarters of ultimate, gentlemen, coming up. And an important result that this guy's going to have something to say about. The weather might have been a blessing in disguise for Minnesota because it let Matt Rader, who arrived to the stadium right as the rain was starting to come down, to get warmed up and try to contribute here down the stretch.
Yeah, and Evan, we heard from Adam Ruffner, who's down on the field. He mentioned to us that Raider came in looking very locked in and loaded and ready to go. So Ruffner's expecting big things from this guy in the second half. I'm expecting big things from Raider as well. His size presents difficulties for that Madison defense. I expect him to be coming out guns a-blazing.
This is a guy who's turned in 10-score performances here at the pro level. He's won multiple times here in Breese Stevens Field against hostile crowds. It feels like kind of a cheat code power-up that you're getting here in the middle of the second quarter for Minnesota.
Like a big bite of PowerUp trail mix, perhaps.
No, we did not choreograph that, folks.
Colin, this is such an unusual day, you know, across the sport, from the disruptions at college nationals to now what we've had here tonight. In your playing career in the UFA, did you ever have a game that was stopped and started like this that you can remember?
So I can't remember that we've ever had one that was stopped and started, but we did have about a 2-hour delay before we played Pittsburgh for a playoff game, actually. And I remember sitting around, and obviously the whole day you kind of build up that game in your mind, and then you're sitting there for 2 hours waiting, warming up, stop warming up, warming up, stop warming up. And so it is a mental test, right? I mean, all their bodies, I think, will be fine. I don't think that the weather really affects how they were feeling at this point. It's not a hot evening tonight. It's all a mental thing. So obviously Madison took on a big hit through that second quarter. Let's see if they can bounce back. Let's see if they got their mindset back into the right space of really where they were in the beginning of this game, dominating.
Kai Marcus, a couple assists. He looks really tense right now. Testing his gymnastics skills.
Oh my goodness.
Kai Marcus is getting loose as we are just minutes away from resuming this game. It's been a wild day here in Madison, Wisconsin. The turning point was the Josh Klain to Brian Vanoka buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter. That really changed the flow and the feel. Madison still had a 1-goal lead when that buzzer beater was caught by Bevon, but the game certainly swung from there.
That was, you think about the sequence of events there. Kelson Alexander and Madison with a chance to break, enlarge their lead. Tim DeBile, an opportunity to call a timeout. Easy for us to Monday morning quarterback up here. Less than 10 seconds remaining in the quarter, unable to convert there. And the killer part is that stall gave Klain the disc at midfield. A thrower of that caliber, an easier look than ever to make the disc to the end zone. We haven't talked a ton about the new professional ultimate Frisbee that everyone's been using, but the range for someone like Klain is not even close to being a question at midfield. But even if he had gotten that disc, deep in his own end zone, maybe he still could have made it there, but at least it would have been more challenging for him.
So the team's huddling up, trying to bring the mojo. Difficult to do considering this game got underway a little over 2 hours ago. We have been delayed for a good hour and a half. And yet we are moments away from resuming. Madison's going to be on offense, trailing by 1. So in a close game, like we often see in this border battle between Minnesota and Madison. I mean, how many times tonight have I mentioned Radicals O-line taking the field? This really feels like a big point. I say it because it's true. I mean, and look, I don't trust this Radicals offense yet. They have been better this year. They've scored 25 goals a game in 2 games against Pittsburgh and Detroit. But the Radicals offense has been what has held them back during this string of seasons where they haven't been able to make the playoffs. And we've been sold an idea that they are much improved, but this is the type of point you got to hold if you're going to be a playoff team.
Exactly. And to your point, Tim has talked about how bullish he is about this offense this year, in large part because of the veteran leadership you see on the line. Pat Triwise, Victor Luo, and then obviously bringing in a guy like Kai Marcus, who is so dynamic. We've talked about this. He's probably the most dynamic handler the Radicals have ever had. So I understand why Tim is so bullish, but to your point, until you prove it on the field, practice isn't just enough.
one of these points this is one of these points that I want to see the calm, steadying presence of Brian Hart just kind of march things in up the field. Sure, Kai can be a threat with the disc, but we see a roller pull to set up a challenging trap here on the sideline.
9:14 p.m. Central Time. We are back to action in a one-goal game, the Super Series featuring the Radicals and the Wind Chill. Evan Lepler with Ian Toner and Colin Camp, our entire crew that has had a crazy day as well, getting set up despite all the thunderstorms. And a bobble and a drop. Victor Luo plagued by the wet disc. Break chance, Minnesota. Mattis, gloves on both hands, making the catch underneath. Nifty, lefty, Lacey continues. 18-year-old rookie Thomas Shope resets. And now Mattis throws it away. Gutowski adds to his impressive stat evening with a block. It is misting ever so slightly. Certainly nothing like the downpour earlier. Tough edge on that throw, and Marcus connects with Nelson.
And there's another piece that we haven't really talked about yet tonight, but last year, Jack Nelson, there was high expectations for him on the O-line for the Madison Radicals to step into a role of a goal scorer as well. Unfortunately, his season was plagued with injuries, but that's another piece that they're looking forward to this year, having back on the field. And you can see it right there. He's an impactful cutter deep for this Madison Radicals team.
Yeah, you got to take someone with that size seriously in the deep space. And I don't know, I got the sense that that throw didn't have quite the height or perfect shape that Kai Marcus wanted when you look back at the trajectory from the point of release, but fortunately just enough juice for it to get to the end zone now.
First point of the night for Matt Rader. And he collides with the Madison defender, Sterling Kanaki, downfield, then catches the under moments later. Quick flip to Klain. Extra help defender was there, denied the power position Huck.
I mean, Madison loves setting those opportunistic double teams, perhaps letting one of the other cutters who's on a weak side position downfield just stay unguarded and see if they can frustrate the thrower with a narrow lane and block up their vision.
It was a contact call against Kanaki as Klain launches deep to the end zone, ripped down for the Minnesota score, Greg Cousins.
And a phenomenal play there by Greg Cousins, going up high and pointing that with Luke Marks coming down on his back side, quick in pursuit. Throughout the rest of this game, we're going to see the need to make those types of plays. There's going to be a wet disc, wet field condition, so two hands are going to be key in attacking that disc early and at its high point.
Back-to-back flicks from Marcus and Klain, kind of underthrown.
It's interesting because Josh is very intentional about wearing gloves, sometimes even when it's particularly dry out. And I'm not saying that gloves completely eliminate any slippage on your grip, but he's someone who I think he understands how well calibrated or poorly calibrated he is before he steps onto the field.
Trywise and Luo in the backfield. Here's Ted Shuey. Bordick back to Shuey. First touch of the point for Marcus, who began downfield. Closing in on 2 minutes to play in the first half. Again, there'll be a shortened halftime because of the hour-and-a-half delay we had midway through the second quarter. An important result hanging in the balance tonight for sure. Madison trying to get to 3-0. Travel called. Minnesota expected to be 3-0 after last week's game against Pittsburgh, but a surprising 1-goal loss. The wind chill enter this evening 2-1, and a very difficult schedule ahead for the wind chill. They go to Indy. They have home games against Colorado and New York. Not to mention another trip to Madison later this year. This is a hospital pass hanging in the end zone, deflected away by the Minnesota defender, Brian Vinoka. Bevon slides for the snag underneath.
Important to note, Minnesota out of timeouts here with this break chance and just over a minute remaining until halftime.
That's a 10-yard penalty.
Contact, though, does slow things up. Clock would have stopped with a minute to go, but now it keeps on rolling under a minute. Vinoka hits DeClerc. Big chunk gainer to Vandy Mortel. Barkas, nice angle on that inside break. Lacey resets. Around for Tristan Vandy Mortel. And into the end zone, it's Brett Bergmeyer. Smooth stuff from the wind chill D-line. Taking it the length of the field after the Radicals turn.
And that's the type of offense we're used to seeing from this Minnesota wind chill team when they do produce these turnovers. Able to walk it up the field, punch it in, take advantage of the mistakes, go up by 2 with a chance to be up at half when at the end of the first quarter things were looking quite grim for them.
And we talked about this right before the rain delay, right? Earlier in the game, this D-line offensive unit was not doing a good job of using the width of the field. They were falling susceptible to Madison's traps and double teams. And that possession, moving the disc horizontally, changing that point of attack constantly, and not giving in to the fatigue and getting that tunnel vision in the narrow space.
Final 30 seconds. End of the first quarter was a disaster for the Radicals. The worst case scenario right now for Madison has to be being down just 2. You can't turn it over and let Minnesota take another shot. Of course, you'd love to get back within 1. Dangerous throw to the middle, 5 seconds. Josh Wilson blades it to the end zone. It's smacked away by Brandon Mattis at the buzzer. Did the disc roll out of bounds with a second or so left? Did not look like it. It appears that that's going to do it for the second quarter.
You know, it's funny, Mattis is someone who normally gets those fundamental shutdown D moments, but he just elevated for the highlight reel play when the disc was in the area on that sequence.
Short.
Are you kidding me? You are kidding me! Holy smokes!
Was there any doubt? Was there any doubt? This is going to be the game.
Joel Clutton battling for position. He tips it to the end zone where it's caught by Elijah Jaime at the buzzer to tie the game. Incredible awareness from Clutton, and we've got overtime tonight.
On the grand stage to keep possession.
Huge bid, gets the time. Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field.
Are you kidding me?
And an incredible pair.
You are kidding me.
Oh my God!
One of the plays of the year.
Throw like a pro with the new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
passes, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.
Well, Free Friday Frisbee continues from Madison, Wisconsin. At the end of the second quarter, Minnesota with a 10-8 lead, an abbreviated halftime with about 100 seconds left. As we welcome you back into our broadcast booth where it is dry once again with Colin Camp and Ian Toner. I'm Evan Lepler. I really think the story of the first half was Minnesota's D-line converting breaks in that second quarter. They got a little momentum, and they just kept on the pressure against the Radicals, though.
Exactly. Minnesota found their footing in this game finally. And for me, too, it's been a game of runs, and Minnesota's really taken advantage of that kind of back and forth to this point, and they're really utilizing their championship DNA and what they're built on at this point, which is defense.
And let's, my mind, state the obvious, too. They're making the clutch plays.
Exactly.
They're winning the end-of-quarter 50-50 balls in points that hang in the balance that could be 2 or 3 goal swings in either direction. They're actually finishing those off. They're converting breaks in a way that they weren't in the first quarter. This is a group that's just starting to, simply put, make plays.
Well, the difference in the game right now is literally the 2 end-of-quarter goals. Vanoka scored the buzzer, and then Bergmeyer's break with 29 seconds left, combined with a Mattis block. Those 2 goals, the reason Minnesota's got 10 and Madison's got 2 fewer. 10-8, third quarter will begin with the Radicals on offense. If they had converted at the buzzer at the end of the second, then they'd be in position to tie it up here. Right now they're just trying to slice the gap in half.
And, Evan, we talked about earlier some of these offensive points that we really want Madison to prove that they have that offensive line this year that they've desperately been needing, and this is one of those points right now.
Excellent pull from the Minnesota D-line, and Madison's got a long way to go. Brian Hart and Victor Luo finally get it out of the end zone to Kai Marcus. We know he can shoot it to the other end zone from there. Underneath, Bergmeyer goes flying past Shuey. Pierin, Robert, I make it Gabe Vordick in the end zone for Madison.
Well, this is Kai Marcus in some of his purest form as we get a look at the boys just having a moment there. Kai Marcus getting the disc in flow. I don't know about you, Colin. I remember running that drill when I was learning how to play Ultimate. The dishy huck. Catch the underneath, dish it over to the person in power position. They unleash the deep shot in flow, and that is exactly how it's supposed to play out in a real point.
Yeah, that was Ultimate 101 in a lot of ways, and working the break side, utilizing a backhand huck in this type of weather as well, where it's a little bit more stable to throw some of those backhands, resulting in a really easy goal.
Radicals back within 1. Has been a while since we've seen Madison's D-line record a break. They did get one midway through the second quarter, but when I say it's been a while, it's been like almost 2 hours with the hour and a half delay mixed in. This is Snyder, back to Rader. Active mark from Luke Marks. And now he sets a double team on Vanoka, who blades it back for Rader. Klain. And Minnesota's calling a pick if the officials were going to miss it. Madison was screaming for it in the middle of the field, and Leo Savel Fernandez made the call on himself. Classy move by the UFA rookie. Here's Gordon Larson. It's Rader under. Bevon. A handful of shimmies and then released to Michael Jordan. Double teamed. Gets the hammer over the outstretched arm of Mechanix, but the crossfield shot falls to the ground off the fingertips of Savel Fernandez.
It's exactly the kind of throw that double team wants to force. A crossfield hammer that hangs just enough for the defenders to pressure, and Kelson Alexander in the area on that one.
Sterling Kanaki. Shy in midfield, resets. Mitchell McCarthy floats it long and off Kanaki's hand. He wants a foul. He's going to get one. Quinn Snyder saying that he thought it was clean, but the official on the trail side is going to give Madison the disc on the goal line. Kanaki and Snyder still barking at one another. But Sterling's got the disc centered with an opportunity to punch this in and tie this game. McCarthy to Kanaki. Hammer, end zone, Mechanix got it. We are tied again here at Breese Stevens Field.
And we see here that the crowd has still stuck around. They're starting to get loud, and the Radicals are debuting their break horn today, so they're trying to produce some of this energy to liven up the crowd and get everybody back into it, and what a perfect way to start the second half in order to do that.
Certainly a lot of contact. First goal of the day for Andrew Mechanix, 167th career goal. For one of the longtime stars in this league. Here's one more look at the foul call on the shot from McCarthy.
That's close. A lot of contact, but it's hard to know if Sterling maybe initiated that a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's an interpretation of that angle where perhaps you say Snyder's shoulder went into Kanaki's side, but some of that is also just guys jockeying for position that is part of the sport.
Exactly.
Double team right in front of the Radicals bench. Hammer back to Barry. Low throw, hits the turf.
Oh my
goodness. DeClerc tries to sell it, but the officials now screaming that it's down. Certainly looked down as DeClerc made the catch. Now the officiating crew coming together. Hard to tell from that end. Now they're going to call it up. Steve Haynes has the white hat on, and he signaled up. Minnesota will retain possession. Vanny Mortel almost had a disc don't lie moment where he overshot the throw, but a nice grab by KJ. And then past the bid from Madison's number 9, Josh Wilson. Barkas, blading throw, caught for the score. And Barry, who looked like he had turned it over, has the go-ahead goal with 7:37 left in the third. Make sense of that for me, gentlemen.
We've only seen two angles from a little bit further away. I think from my recollection of seeing it live up here in the booth and squinting at those two replays, I'm still convinced that that disc was down.
I thought so as well, but I did find it interesting that the official that made that call was actually the referee about 50 yards away from the play was making that call as well. So I guess maybe if you have that closer perspective, it looks up, but to me, from this angle where we're at in the broadcast booth, I also thought it was down.
Okay. remember that sequence. But this final score line is at all close.
Lots of opportunities over the next 19 plus minutes of game action for Madison to earn it back in their favor. Try-wise, back to Hart. Vortic's going, just eluding his outstretched reach.
I don't think he expected that throw to go up. If you see him coming out of his break there, he's actually still jogging. Brian Hart unleashes an absolute missile, and unfortunately Vortic is not able to catch up to it.
Vinoka shy of midfield to Bergmeyer. And that's right on the money. Matej Petrovic from the Czech Republic hauls in the break to put the wind chill back up 2.
I mean, you contrast the 2 throws to the end zone between these 2 teams. Brian Hart trying to connect with his receiver, perhaps a little too sharp, a little too crisp, and his receiver perhaps not quite ready for it. At the other end of the spectrum, you take a look at this shot, and it's just perfectly on the money, clap catching right in front of his face.
Yeah, and to your point, contrasting those 2 throws, it almost felt like that throw from Hart was a little bit forced even. And the throw from the wind chill was a little bit more in flow. And so you see the end result there too. And, I think that's a big factor in that as well.
A lot of D-line personnel out here for this offensive point for Madison.
Absolutely, after the break. Big Jacob Wam towering over his mark, Cameron Lacey. And Lacey switches, and there's a layout block in the middle of the field. Matej Petrovic, after scoring the goal last possession, gets the block, but then unable to maintain possession there. Wilson scoobers for Wam. Unmarked for a moment, now DeClerc picks him up. Nobody's open. And a difficult reset, forcing Wilson to leave his feet. We tick towards 5 minutes to play in the third.
And again, I'm a bit surprised that Coach DeBile's not using a timeout here. The offense has stagnated a little bit, but now we're seeing them work it into that red zone.
Well, it's a Dylan DeClerc layout on the goal line, Colin. And another break opportunity for Minnesota. Almost a Callahan from Wam. And it's a timeout for the wind chill, as Ben Feldman and his coaching staff will stop the play. An opportunity for Minnesota to extend their lead to 3 for the first time tonight. So that's twice that you guys have articulated for a timeout call. And I'll be honest, both times you mentioned it. In my mind at the end of the first quarter, I thought, well, Kelson Alexander just needs to shoot this to the end zone. They don't need to waste a timeout here. But you were right. He wasn't ready for that situation. And this is the same thing. There were no turns on that point. Madison's D-line was out there, but they were working it. But again, you were right, because you sensed something that things were just out of sorts.
Yeah, this point feels too critical to not execute it and score it, right? You have your prime line, as they call it, which is mainly defenders out there trying to score on offense. And you took the early momentum in this half, got it back to a tie game, quickly gave up 2 goals after that. This point is too critical, and the offense was too stagnant there for me to be comfortable.
Right off the bat, Klain shooting it for Rader, and he rips it down over Gutowski. Still about 25 yards of work to do. Rader floats it for Quinn Snyder. A saucy high release throw from Matt Rader. And the Wind Chill have their largest lead of the night.
I mean, if that isn't quintessential Matt Rader, I don't know what is. Josh Klain having no fear, hucking from a standstill because he knows Matt Rader is on the other end of this one. And he puts someone on a poster, Gutowski no less, and just that casual, he's thrown that step-through high-release backhand, I don't know how many hundreds of times in his career at this point. He just makes it look so effortless, and he brings that level of confidence and swagger to that group and just instills it to his line mates when he executes in that way.
He spent parts of 6 seasons in the UFA. Tonight's only his 32nd career game. And we think of him as a veteran maybe on the tail end, but he's just 32, turning 33 this summer. He's got so many miles on him because he was playing at such a high level at such a young age. He was 16 playing at the national championships. Started playing as a 6th grader in Seattle. And what a day he's had, you think, from being grounded in the St. Louis airport to now making that type of play late at night. Mattis collides with Schreiwise.
You can see the frustration there in Schreiwise's body language.
These two guys have had a lot of battles, and then the stoppage perhaps contributes to the turnover as Vandy Mortel gets the easy run-through block on Marcus. This is snowballing quick. Vandy Mortel shoots it, and Bergmeyer can't make the play with a little help defense from Gutowski.
I mean, that's great recognition from Gutowski, just peeling off the back of the stack. Would have been easy to just watch that thing go up and say your prayers and hope for the best, but no quitting that kid right now.
Could have made it a 4-goal game as Mattis gets another one on Schreiwise. Pat's looking for a call, and none is coming.
That was another one of those ones that just kind of felt like guys bodying.
And there's the break.
And again, we're seeing this Minnesota D-line step up. They've been doing that since basically the end of the first quarter. They have played largely a flawless game through the second quarter and into the third quarter now. Led by their veterans, guys like Dylan DeClerc, coming up big, making plays, Brandon Mattis as well.
Couple blocks now for Mattis and DeClerc. It's like his fuel tank is constantly full. That guy never runs out of energy.
And if he has 6 gears, he finds a 7th one when he's here in Madison. I swear playing in front of a big crowd gets that guy fired up more than just about anyone I've ever seen.
Today, the 90th game of DeClerc's UFA career. And he scored his 150th career goal here tonight. That was hand blocked on the mark, and it finds the turf across the sideline. Gordon Larson gets the block.
I mean, those are the challenges that arise when you have to get into a situation where you keep reaching deeper and deeper into your depth chart and ask that defensive unit to play offense again and again.
And how about the coaching move from Ben Feldman, putting Vandy Mortel on the D-line tonight? It has paid off. Vinoka fouled. And he will center and get a fresh stall count. An opportunity to make it a 5-goal game under 2 minutes left in the third. Barkas swings it. Madison has had a knack for slowing teams down with their zone defense near the goal line. But Minnesota patient and poised.
Another great possession there by Minnesota. working it through the defense, around the defense, ultimately connecting for the goal there. And boy, things turned quickly. It was just a few minutes ago, we were at 10 to 10. However, we've highlighted throughout this entire telecast, this is a game of runs, especially with these two teams.
Vinoka leading the pack now. 3 goals tonight to go along with over 300 yards of total offense. Still hasn't turned the ball over in 2024. Turning in some of his best ultimate of his career in the early stages of this campaign.
The Chicago Union takes down the Houston Havoc 20-14.
So it was a 10-all game, as Colin mentioned, not all that long ago. And now it feels like the wind chill are in control. Minnesota will receive to start the 4th. Kai Marcus wants it all, and he wants it quickly. Bodies piling up shy of the end zone, and it is caught off the deflection by Ted Shuey. I'm not sure how the Radicals drew that possession up, but Gabe Vordick with an emphatic spike as the crowd erupts here at Breese.
I mean, Kai wound up and pumped once. The mark came over and closed down the traditional backhand window, and then he said, screw it. I'm going to pull the trigger on an inside-out backhand, but that thing hung up there like a moonball.
Exactly, and this is one of those moments where you almost wish we had a simulcast of like coach cams, right? Because boy, I would have loved to see Tim DeBile's expression. We talked about earlier how Kai Marcus has probably the greenest light any Radicals thrower has ever had.
That's right.
I'm not so sure it's as green anymore.
Oh boy.
Marcus did get the assist. There's Tim. So Minnesota, if you're Ben Feldman, you just don't want to give the Radicals a chance here. You want to maintain a 4-goal lead at the minimum going into the 4th. Slow start tonight for the Minnesota O-line, but they found their groove as this evening has progressed. Matt Rader's return after the stoppage has only given them a boost. 10 seconds, crossfield hammer into traffic. Smacked down by Madison's Kelson Alexander. And then he throws it into the turf, but time will run out. There is no foul call, and we are headed to the 4th in a 4-goal game.
After 3, Madison 11, Minnesota.
That's the 3rd straight quarter that the Radicals have a chance with time expiring. They do get the final goal of the quarter technically. Minnesota will have the disc to start the 4th. 12 minutes left here on a Friday night in the capital city of Ultimate.
Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working towards winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
And welcome back. We are revisiting the end of the third quarter here. Under 10 seconds left. The Madison Radicals produce a turnover. We're all up here questioning why not call a timeout in this situation. You're down by 4. You have an opportunity, about 6 or 7 seconds left on the clock. It's another opportunity missed in a game that is critical, low scoring. We're wondering why we're holding on to timeouts at this point. Again, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. However, you got to question some of the decision-making made by Tim DeVile tonight.
Would you, as an offensive player, be standing on the sideline as a player, being like, Coach, call it so he can get me back out there?
I'm the wrong person to be asking that because I was in Tim DeVile's ear at all times. So
sounds like you're the right person to be asking.
But that's because I knew I was going to get back on the field and be able to play. So maybe there was a little bit of bias in some of my decision making.
Well, no, to your point, just what are you saving it for if you're not using it there? You got this 4-goal deficit. You have an opportunity to try and give yourself a chance to chip away at it.
And you wonder if maybe part of that decision tonight is knowing that you don't have guys like Max Sample. He's a key contributor to the end of the quarter. 6'8", huge target down there. Maybe that's a factor in all those decisions.
Floater, but Larson there to pull it down. And it's back to a 5-goal game again. Add another one to Snyder's ledger for the night.
And I've been really impressed with Quinn Snyder tonight. Obviously, we outlined in detail his day-to-day. And it does really talk to his preparation and his mentality that he can come in after a day that is extremely stressful. Matt Rader as well, and come out here and absolutely ball out. He's been a big factor in this game for Minnesota. He's going to continue to be a big factor for them all year. But it's really impressive to see what he's doing tonight.
How about that shot from Greg Cousins as well? I mean, you talk about Snyder having a tough day. I mean, I guess Greg Cousins is more well-rested because he hadn't played the league in the last 5 seasons. His last year before this season was 2018, and he was thought of as a goal scorer back then. I mean, he was 3rd in the league in goals back in 2017. That was a nice, confident shot to Snyder to stretch the lead back to 5, matching the largest lead of the night for Minnesota.
Oh, boy. Thought we were gearing up for another turnover there.
Foul called on Bergmeyer. He and Luo seem to be on good terms. Marcus ripping another backhand. That's going to get right in Shuey's breadbasket. Where was the defense on Shuey there? Trywise resets for Luo, and Pat is in.
I don't think the defense thought there was going to be a heat-seeking missile 6 feet off the ground, just 60 yards down the middle of the field. Not the most traditional flight path, but hey, Kai Marcus has the vision, and he had the execution on that point.
Touche. It's a good point by you.
There's not a lot of ways you could defend a throw like that.
Yeah, it just so happened that there was just enough spacing throughout the rest of the field for that flight path to work out, and Marcus knew it was time to pull the trigger on that one.
Shout out to these Radicals fans, by the way. There's still hundreds of people here awaiting the return of this game. Goes in and on 10 o'clock local time. Enjoying the evening here in Madison. Never been a part of a crowd in Ultimate like the 2016 championship weekend here. Colin, a game you were playing in against Matt Rader and the Seattle Cascades. Sorry to bring it up, but aside from the result for the Radicals, it was one of the nights in Ultimate that I will absolutely never forget. A game changer for this league, truly.
Absolutely, and for me as well. I mean, it's one of those things where obviously the end result is not what I would have personally wanted, what the fans would have wanted, but it does go down as one of those memories that is forever ingrained in your mind of this is what Ultimate could be, and this is what Ultimate should be. And it was really one of the true pinnacles of my career to be able to play in a game like that.
Marks gives way to Liebforth. 3-goal game.
And don't look now, but we've mentioned this before and we'll mention it again. With these two teams, a game is never over until there are 3 zeros on that timer.
And I love the play after the turnover here. Marks gets the block, the deep shot goes up, and Liebforth and Marks chasing it down. Marks doing a very great but subtle job of just maintaining his position. There's nothing illegal about it. He's not sticking his arm out and arm barring, but by having that second body in the space holding ground, it just relieves the pressure on Liebforth. And we saw other instances around the league earlier this year where, hey, maybe defenses were sending 2 defenders to an area when there was only 1 receiver, and they were able to capitalize on it. Madison, in this instance, sending 2 offensive receivers to that space, and things working out.
Is that disc down? Sideline official says an incomplete pass. Vandy Mortel can't believe it. Chance for Madison to get back within 2. And just like that, we still got 9 minutes to play. It's a 2-goal game. Curious to see that replay. The Minnesota sideline has erupted with a fury, saying that was not an incomplete pass, that it was kept alive.
Oh yeah, you could see the.
Yeah, it looks like it bounces.
Yeah, you could see the bounce. Definitely a turnover there. That's the tough thing for me to understand is how you can be so incredulous when there's proof that the disc bounced.
Gentlemen, that's 3 goals for the Radicals in the last minute and 25 seconds. Before that, they had not scored but 1 goal in the previous 8.5 minutes.
Well, and this is a little reminiscent of the end of the game between Minnesota and Chicago. Minnesota had a strong lead, a comfortable lead, and they started letting Chicago kind of creep back into it. So now you got your vets back out here.
Taking another shot to Snyder, and that's a beautiful put from Bevon.
I mean, the man can't miss tonight. He is in flow state, okay? That's pretty much the best way to describe the way he's playing. Minnesota's getting other contributions around the roster, but he's climbing the ladder at end-of-quarter situations. He's sending his receivers to the end zone with touch. He's possessing and valuing the disc. I mean, goodness.
Well, yeah, and it's really impressive because he is an all-league level player, and it seems like he's stepped his game up to even another level this year.
Yeah.
He's just so consistent, so poised out there, and he hasn't slowed down one bit.
Meanwhile, Snyder's having a nice night too. 4 goals, over 200 receiving yards. Back to a 3-goal game with 8.5 to play. Marcus gonna take another shot off the bat. And that just a little too far for Luo.
So that's one of those throws. And Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more familiar with the differences between the previous disc and the new professional Ultimate Frisbee. That disc held its edge and didn't flatten out or stabilize the way the previous disc would have.
Exactly, yeah, that is definitely a product of the new disc from my understanding of the dynamics of that disc. And traditionally you would see the previous Discraft disc kind of level off there potentially and give Luo more of a chance to run under it.
Stall count was rising on the 18-year-old Shope, so Feldman uses his final timeout, trying to put this game away. His team had a 5-goal lead not too long ago, then a quick 3-0 run from the Radicals brought it back within 2. Minnesota a chance to get the advantage back to 4. If Madison loses tonight, another undefeated team will fall. During this weekend, you had Carolina and Austin both 2-0, Madison at 2-0, and Salt Lake at 5-0.
Hey, stay safe and stay radical.
It's possible if Chicago could beat Austin tomorrow, then we'd have just 2 undefeated teams in the league heading into week 6.
And I think for the fans in the league, that's the type of parity that they've been looking for. Obviously, it's cool. It's fun to see dynasties at times with New York.
Yeah, but we're tired of the New York Empire reign.
Exactly. People grow tired of it, and to see that level of parity is really good for the league, I think.
There's no question the Empire's level has dropped a little bit to start the season, but I also think Salt Lake entered the offseason knowing that they needed to raise their level, and they've done that. Minnesota knows they need to do that as well. They add a guy like Matt Rader. That's part of the reason why. 18-14 wind chill as they look to win for the 4th time in 5 tries here at Breese Stevens Field. Which is crazy to say, because there was a time when Madison went a half-decade without losing here at Breese Stevens Field. You guys would just show up, take care of business night in, night out, week in, week out.
Yeah, and obviously I think this Radicals team is fighting a few demons right now of years past. These are good learning moments for them, right? I think it's a good humbling experience for them as well. I obviously understand why they were riding high after those first 2 games, but kind of taking a gut punch from Minnesota when coming out so strong is a good testing moment for your team and how you'll respond. Is it going to push you to get better, or is it going to start a bit of a cycle that ultimately results in the ending that you're not looking for?
Gutowski for Vortic. Back to Marcus.
It's amazing how the energy in the stadium has shifted after the conversion of that break. What felt like a lively crowd has started to lose its luster a little.
Not the edge that Marcus wanted on that throw. Vandy Mortel will pick up. He's got company with Lacey in the backfield. Lacey charges downfield. He's open, and the hammer from Vandy Mortel into the crowd, and it went right through Lacey's hands. I'm amazed that hammer got to Cameron Lacey.
Yeah, and this game's definitely loosened up a little bit. Earlier on, we were seeing much tighter possessions, many throws working up the field, working both sides of the field. We're seeing the game loosen up a little bit. Obviously, at this point, I think that benefits Minnesota. However, Minnesota needs to be careful to not allow Madison back in the game by loosening up their offense.
So when you're a part of that offense that's been getting a little loose, as you say, how do you rein things back in?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old cliche in Ultimate is winning with your legs, right? It's who's going to be the guy stepping up to just go get the disc.
Marcus for Gutowski, and a frustration smack of the disc after the score. As much as it feels like Minnesota's in control, it is just still a 3-point game with 5.5 minutes to play.
Well, it's almost like Gutowski heard you up here in the booth, because he was the one churning downfield. He's doing what he can to spark some life into not only his teammates but this crowd and get the energy back in the venue.
Radicals defense know they need a turn and a break, and they can't waste too much time doing it. Klain hits Barry under. To midfield for Larson. Mechanix came with a double team, but the reset finds Klain. That's a floater, could be trouble, but it's snagged by Barry. And he rips it may have overthrown it, but it hits the sliding Raider. With Kanaki nearby, Raider has another score for the wind chill.
And boy, are they happy that he was able to make it tonight. I'm not entirely sure that throw was intended for Raider there.
I'm with you, Colin. I am 100% with you.
Fantastic grab there by Raider.
Good sportsmanship between Raider and Kanaki, who were very physical when that Raider first entered the game. His first point was with about 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. But he has made his presence felt. 4-goal game with 5 minutes to play. Windchill are off next weekend, but then they go to Indy on June 8th. It's their only game of the year against the AlleyCats. So you think about that for potential tiebreaker purposes. If they have the same record, that game is the decider without a rematch in the regular season. And as Ben Feldman said to me before the season, playing indoors, I know it's going to be a close game. Weird stuff's going to happen. That's a really critical game for us. Brian Hart throws it to Dylan DeClerc. Dylan has worked hard for a lot of these. That one was a gift. Benny Mortel finds Vanoka. Johnson. Vandy Mortel. Tristan Vandy Mortel was a college national champion with the University of Minnesota on a stormy weekend in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it's bookends for DeClerc. An awkward landing, colliding with Gutowski, but he's all right. And so are the Windchill.
And you were right to point this out earlier, Evan. The decision to deploy Vandy Mortel on the D-line and his impact on that group's ability to convert after the turnover cannot go unnoticed. Seems like a really smart coaching decision. The 5-goal lead and just over 4 minutes left to go here in this huge Super Series intra-divisional matchup.
And Toner, I think that's a really great point that you're making there, because one of my key things that I saw about this matchup was that Sam Berglund was not going to be playing tonight. And he is such a key cog to the offense for that defensive line of Minnesota. So to bring in Vandy Mortel, and he has really settled them down when they're getting the disc on a turn, and he has made a massive impact tonight for their defensive line.
Minnesota just throws a little junk, trying to help bleed some more time from the clock. With a 5-goal lead, under 4 minutes to play. A reminder, the UFA game of the week. Yikes. Matej Petrovic immediately apologizing to Mitchell McCarthy. Clear foul, 10 yards. They mark it off and play on. Game of the week tomorrow night from Austin, Texas. The Chicago Union, representing the Central Division, take on the Austin Soul. We're currently about to be one of the 3 remaining undefeated teams in the league. You can see that game and every UFA game on WatchUFA.tv. Every game all season long available for just $11.99 a month. That's every game in UFA history. Radicals back within 4, but precious time disappeared on that possession. Now just 2:42 to play. Here's a look at the best of the UFA upcoming schedule. Chicago and Austin, 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, and then the Austin Soul will take on the Carolina Flyers. And it could be a battle between 2 of the final 3 remaining undefeated teams in the league next Friday night. Next Friday night, Ian, is going to be an unbelievable evening, because you and I are going to be in Colorado for the Hustle and the Summit. Also next Friday, you have Boston at New York. and Chicago against Madison.
I'd call that Frisbee's equivalent of must-see TV.
It'll be an incredible Friday night. The Free Friday Frisbee will be the Super Series game between the Hustle and the Summit. Everything else can be seen on watchufa.tv. Johnson sends this one deep, and Quinn Snyder again controlling the skies. Remember his skyscraping snag of Andrew Mechanic earlier in the night was a huge tone setter, as Jake Carrico goes horizontal for the block there. Ticking toward 2 minutes to go. Mechanic. Minnesota just trying to prevent Madison from scoring immediately. A pretty nice job of transition defense from the wind chill after the giveaway. And now we get the timeout with $1:49 to play. And the Radicals down 4.
Yeah, and really in these situations, I mean, obviously I understand why Coach Zabala is making this timeout call. You kind of have to throw some of those 50-50 balls that Kai Marcus has put up at times in these situations. 4 points in a minute 49. That is a tall mountain to climb. So I anticipate that they are going to be trying to set up something here where they score in 1 to 2 passes, because they can't have any more of this precious time come off the clock. And then obviously from there, probably some sort of roller pull, putting them onto the sideline if they are able to score, so that they can try to produce a quick turnover.
Wonder if they're going to try and isolate Gutowski in space here. Coming out of the timeout, you saw Kai Marcus motioning to him in a kind of horizontal movement as they were in that huddle. And Gutowski, one of the few cutters at the back of this diagonal stack.
Kai Marcus to the middle of the field for Vordic. Back to Marcus near the pylon, and Gutowski taps the foot in the end zone for the score. The Radicals break makes it 20-17 with 1:35 remaining.
Fascinating little nugget. Hank Carey, the sideline official there, who pointed to the head official to confirm the goal call. You'll see him here. He was out of your frame. He's in your frame. You see him looking at the feet, and then he points over at the head official. He was talking to me about the officials' warm-up protocol. Just like players are warming up, yeah, of course, they got to do their butt kicks and high knees and get the legs loose. But as the players are going through their warm-up drills and trying to complete passes to each other, they'll play this game called left foot, right foot. And they'll try and pinpoint, hey, when that receiver made possession, was their first point of contact the left foot or the right foot? And it's trying to get them used to having to make that split-second judgment at game speed. And you can see that he was ready for that moment there.
You can play that game at home the next time you're watching on your TV or in the stands at a UFA game. Leo Savell Fernandez as we tick under a minute to play.
It's harder than you think. I was hanging out with him for 30 seconds down there at field level without the benefit of our perfect broadcast perch and instant replay. Opened my eyes to some of the challenges they have.
Certainly a very difficult job to be an official, and we've got some of the best in the league here tonight. That ricochets off the hands of Greg Cousins, and Tim DeBile takes his final timeout with 27 seconds left, and the body language of my comrades here in the booth suggests you feel this timeout should have been called much earlier than now.
I don't want to dog on Tim too hard. It's easy for us to snicker at this, given how the second half of this game has unfolded. But I think we agree there are certainly opportunities end of the third quarter and elsewhere where that timeout trigger could have been pulled.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-goal game right now, and I think we've expressed at least 2, if not 3 times where we thought there could have been timeouts called. That would have had a potential high impact on this game by 2 or 3 points. So while we're kind of snickering and joking about it now because the game is kind of decided, there are a bit of a butterfly effect to some of those lack of decisions.
Well, that's a question for the post-game press conference, right? Maybe Tim had some reasoning.
Marcus sending this one. It's Gutowski versus Berry and DeClerc. And DeClerc used his body and gave up the D for Berry. And that should just about do it. Disappointing Week 4 loss to Pittsburgh for the Minnesota Wind Chill, but they're going to bounce back with a road win against the Madison Radicals. 20-17 was the score before that throw. Dylan DeClerc with a buzzer beater to give us a final of 21-17. A Minnesota -3.5 ticket. Cha-ching.
Maybe that goal mattered for somebody.
So the Radicals fall from the ranks of the unbeaten, and the Wind Chill sit at 3-1, back on top of the Central Division. They got a week off before they head to Indy, and then they host Colorado on June 15th. As you see the updated standings, Chicago a winner earlier tonight as well. In Houston, the Union prevailed 20-14. Chicago is at Austin tomorrow. Pittsburgh could get to 3-2 tomorrow. They play at Toronto on the second day of a back-to-back. Detroit has now lost 78 straight games. What impressed you guys most about what we saw from the Wind Chill here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Coach Feldman, you got to be ecstatic. The fact that you bounced back from such a difficult loss last week, come into a very difficult place to play under extreme conditions with the weather and really a mental test for everybody. To have that resilience, to bond together through injuries and players missing and travel delays, you got to think that your team's back on the right track of where you're trying to lead them to this year.
Yeah, I'd say the combination of players filling needed roles, perhaps playing slightly outside their comfort zones, not necessarily being deployed in the exact same way that they had in previous seasons or earlier this season, and still being comfortable enough to win a challenging divisional matchup on the road. I'm just so impressed with the coaching decisions that went into that, with the players' ability to adjust, and I think that speaks to what you said, Colin, this group's resilience, its character, its development. I know we're early here in the season. I know Madison's still going to have something to say later in the season. I know they're going to have all kinds of other challengers in the Central, but you can see it right there. They earned this celebration right here.
Minnesota Wind Chill win at Breese Stevens Field again. They're going to dance into the night. Montier Petrovic having a moment inside the circle, and now Ben Feldman done a little dance. 21-17 is the final tonight. Thanks for being with us through the lightning delay and oh so much more. For Ian Toner and Colin Camp and our whole crew, I'm Evan Lepler saying goodnight from Madison.